The Wandering Soul Planet. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 476 Hearsay. If this small accident was nothing, then when Susan encountered a nearly 200-meter long and 70-80-meter wide gravel field with few flowers and plants, it was beyond her expectation. It seemed that it was really risky to go directly through this nearly 200-meter long gravel field. Even though this gravel field was only 70 to 80 meters wide, she could go around it from the side. It was best to go around it from the right side near the foot of the mountain. The left side was naturally the swamp, which was even less suitable. After making up her mind, Susan turned to the right and began to go around along the bottom line of the mountain. There were tall grass, small trees, and occasionally big rocks for her to jump forward. But at this moment, suddenly, the unique cry of an owl came from the sky, which frightened her so much that she trembled all over. She hurriedly stopped in the crown of a small tree and did not move at all, fearing that she would be discovered by the owl flying in the air. At the same time, Susan heard the chirping of mice not far to her left. Soon after, a flapping sound came from far away in the night sky. An owl swooped down from the sky, grabbed a large mouse, and flew away in a moment. The neat and swift mouse-catching action fully demonstrated the exquisite and sophisticated hunting skills of this owl, which also made Susan shudder with fear. About an hour later, Susan finally entered the big forest in the southwest. Just when she was about to go southeast through the forest, she met a fat-headed guy, a gecko. The skin of this gecko was dark green. It seemed to have a gentle temperament. It looked at Susan with a sharp and intelligent look and said, "Are you a passerby from outside?" "Yes." "How did you tell?" Susan asked in surprise. "I can be sure of it by looking at your tired and anxious look. In addition, the pattern of your skin is slightly different from that of our compatriots here," the gecko explained carefully. "I see," Susan exclaimed sincerely. "So you are a very careful guy." "Of course. Everyone calls me Little Detective," the gecko said complacently. "It's a bit exaggerated to call yourself a little detective just for such a simple judgment," Susan thought. After a moment, he thought, since this guy is called Little Detective, he should be knowledgeable. Why don't I ask him about chameleons? So, Susan asked kindly, "Then, Little Detective, do you know that we lizards have a very special species called chameleon? Do you know where they live specifically, chameleon?" "Why are you asking about this?" The little detective was shocked and asked back. After hearing this, clever Susan couldn't help but secretly delighted. She immediately sensed something in the words of the little detective and thought, "It seems that I asked the right question. This guy probably knows some information about chameleons." Thinking of this, she said, "I am just curious and want to know some specific information." Sure enough, after hearing Susan's answer, this guy actually stammered, "It's better for you not to ask about this chameleon. If you find out, you might be sad." "Why do you say I will be sad? What happened? Tell me clearly." Susan couldn't help but get anxious after hearing what he said. "Hey, how can I tell you? It's really hard to explain," the little detective sighed with a frown. "There are several big mountains in the south of our forest. There's a big river across these mountains. And opposite this river is a tropical rainforest. A long time ago, there were many chameleons living there. These chameleons are relatively gentle and only passively defend themselves. They rarely take the initiative to attack, except for flies, mosquitoes, moths and other small insects. It is said that one year, a large group of gourd-mouthed gorillas suddenly came. These gorillas like to catch chameleons to eat, and they also roast them with fire to eat. Since then, the chameleons in that tropical rainforest have become extinct and disappeared. Since then, no one has heard of chameleons. And the group of gorillas who like to eat chameleons, seeing that there are no more chameleons to eat, left the tropical rainforest and disappeared." How could this be?" Susan was shocked, then thought about it, and asked again, "Have you been to that tropical rainforest recently? Who would go there? It's so far and the road is not easy to walk. Besides, I don't know if there are still chameleons there now," the little detective said honestly. "Yes, you haven't been there to see it yourself, and what you said about the extinction of chameleons may be a rumor," Susan said unconvinced. "Maybe you are right. I just heard it and didn't see it with my own eyes, so it's hard to say whether there are still chameleons now," the little detective said frankly. It seems that I still have to go there in person. After all, hearing is false, seeing is true. Susan finally made up his mind and said, "Hey. That's right, since you are willing to go there in person, then go ahead. I wish you good luck." As soon as the voice fell, the little detective left Susan and went to do his own thing. To go to the tropical rainforest where the chameleons live, you must first cross this large forest, so Susan decided to travel overnight. Who knows, it started to dawn soon, and she had to find a place to rest temporarily so that she could continue to travel at night. There is no mistake in the poem. There are many long grasses and trees in this forest, and they are dense. Therefore, it only took Susan 10 days to pass through the forest without any danger. She came to a mountain. She looked up and saw that she could not see the end. She did not know how high or how big the mountain was. She felt that it was many times bigger than the mountain she climbed last time. In other words, it would take several days to climb this mountain. Climbing a mountain is not like crossing a forest. Obviously, it is safer during the day than at night. This is also the experience she has long summed up. At this moment, it happened that the day was about to dawn. Seeing this, Susan hurried to catch insects nearby to fill her stomach and make adequate preparations for climbing the mountain. When the day dawned, she was almost full of food, so she began to climb the mountain slowly. However, before she had climbed far, it started to rain lightly, and it was getting heavier and heavier. Before long, many small streams formed on the mountain due to the heavy rain, and a lot of mud was washed down from the mountain. The road on the hillside became wet and slippery. What was even more annoying was that the small streams caused by the rain became larger and larger, and finally they simply washed Susan, the little lizard, to the foot of the mountain without mercy, so that she returned empty-handed at the beginning of the climb. It was really infuriating. As a result, Susan had to stay at the foot of the mountain and wait for the rain to stop and the sky to clear up. Chapter 477, Trekking Through Mountains and Rivers. The rain lasted for most of the day. When it stopped, it was almost 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The hillside was still slippery and difficult to walk on. Susan had to postpone her climb to the next morning. The next morning, the sun was shining, the weather was fine, and hundreds of birds were singing. Susan got up early and started climbing. Although the hillside was still a little wet, it was much easier to walk on than yesterday. Insects were flying around in the bushes. Since Susan had not eaten for a day and a night, she decided to look for food while walking. Soon she caught some slow-moving grasshoppers. After gradually filling her stomach, she continued to climb up. At dusk, suddenly, Susan smelled a fishy smell coming from the mountain again, accompanied by a rustling sound. She immediately realized that a big crisis was coming, so she hurriedly found a place to hide without thinking. Seeing that the flowers and plants on the left were more lush, she plunged into the bushes on the left. Not long after she crawled into the grass, she found a large stone deep in the grass, and under the stone was a medium-sized but very deep hole. Obviously, she was so scared that she crawled into the dark hole without thinking. Who knew that before she had crawled in half a meter, she found a snake head sticking out from the depths of the hole. This frightened Susan so much that she turned around and fled. Fortunately, the hole was spacious enough for her to turn around quickly. After she rushed out of the cave, she leaped and ran desperately. 2 snakes appeared behind her, chasing her from the front and back. The situation was quite critical. But at this dangerous moment, the situation suddenly changed dramatically. The snake running at the end, that is, the big snake Susan met outside the cave, was obviously much bigger than the snake running in front, the snake Susan saw in the cave. Not long after, the big snake behind grabbed the tail of the smaller snake in front. Then, the 2 snakes, one big and one small, started to bite each other. Finally, the big snake actually bit off the neck of the small snake and then swallowed it up section by section. Susan's crisis was thus resolved by luck. It was just a pity that only about half of the hard climbing distance today was left. The other half was swallowed by her in the process of running down the mountain. In other words, she would have to walk about half a day again tomorrow to make up for today's loss. 3 days later, in the afternoon, Susan finally climbed to the top of the mountain, but found that there were all kinds of small and medium-sized birds gathered here, such as sparrows, turtle doves, swallows, magpies and parrots. She was shocked and frightened, fearing that these birds would suddenly attack her, so she immediately found a short tree nearby to hide and wait and see. Finally, She found that these birds gathered on the top of the mountain to compete for a delicious unknown beetle. Therefore, these birds naturally did not care about her little lizard, and Susan was spared from any accident. It is said that Susan went through many hardships, crossed several large forests, climbed over several mountains, and came to a big river. It was already late autumn. Facing the turbulent river, Susan complained, "What should I do? How can I get across?" Just as she was hesitating and at a loss, a huge turtle slowly crawled towards the river. Susan was overjoyed when she saw it. She hurried forward and greeted it warmly in the turtle language. "Hello, Uncle Turtle, are you planning to cross the river? If so, can you take me to the other side of the river?" The big turtle looked at Susan, the seemingly inconspicuous little lizard, in surprise, and asked puzzledly, "You little thing, you are not simple. I am surprised that you can speak our turtle language. So why do you want to take me to the other side, Uncle Turtle?" "I want to cross the river to the tropical rainforest on the opposite side to find a very important relative of mine. Could you please take me there, please?" Susan pleaded again. "Well, since you are such a cute little fellow, I will take you across. Actually, I came to the river not to cross the river, but to go down to the bottom of the river to catch small fish and shrimps to eat. But now that I have promised you, I will take you across the river first, and then go back to the bottom of the river to catch fish and shrimps," the big turtle explained. "Thank you so much. I know that you are the best uncle in the world, and you will live a long and peaceful life in the future," Susan hurriedly flattered. "Hey, you little thing, you are so sweet, I like it. Then you can quickly climb on my back. I will cross the river soon," the big turtle said with satisfaction. Seeing that the big turtle actually agreed to take her across the river, Susan couldn't help but be overjoyed. She thanked him and quickly climbed onto the big turtle's back, hoping to ride the turtle to cross the river in front of her. Suddenly, a big wave hit, and the big turtle shook violently, almost throwing Susan off its back into the river. Susan hurriedly used her forefeet to hold on to the bumps on the turtle's back, using her strong adhesion to prevent herself from being washed into the river by the big waves. Afterwards, no matter how many big waves hit or how the turtle shook, Susan stuck firmly to the turtle's back, like a dogskin plaster. No matter how you threw it, you couldn't get rid of it. Even several times, the big turtle completely sank into the river, but Susan didn't let go of her 4 claws. Even after drinking several mouthfuls of river water, she never wavered. After finally crossing this turbulent river, she suddenly found a big flower snake that came out of nowhere and rushed to the river to drink water. Susan was immediately frightened and hurriedly told the big turtle to turn around and swim across the river again. Unexpectedly, the big turtle laughed and said to Susan, "Little thing, don't be afraid. This big flower snake is my old friend. With me here, he dare not hurt you." "Is it really like that? Why do you say that?" Susan couldn't believe it. Unexpectedly, the big turtle did not directly answer Susan's question, but said to the big flower snake, "Old friend, what's the matter? Why are you so impatient to run out and drink so much water?" Unexpectedly, the big flower snake did not even look at the big turtle, and said while drinking water, "It's because I'm greedy for those yellow mushrooms." No mistake in one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one look. Seeing this, the big turtle complained to him, "How many times have I told you not to eat that kind of yellow mushroom? That kind of yellow mushroom is poisonous. Why don't you listen? This is really not listening to the old man's advice will bring you trouble. I want to listen to you, but every time I see such cute yellow mushrooms, I can't help but want to eat them. Although this kind of mushroom is poisonous and numbing, it is really fragrant and sweet. I always want to eat it again after eating it once. You can't blame me. If you want to blame someone, blame the yellow mushroom," the big flower snake said speciously. "Hey, I can't control you. I have said everything. I can only let you do whatever you want. I hope you will take care of yourself." After that, he turned his head and glanced at Susan, and then said again, "Old friend, I want to ask you for a favor today. I hope you can agree to it." Chapter 478, Tropical Rainforest. "We have been friends for many years. Your business is my business. If you have any problem, just tell me. I will do my best to help you if I can," the big flower snake said generously. "Hey, it's not a big deal. This little lizard on my back is my new friend. She is going to the big forest on the shore. I hope you can take good care of my little friend on my behalf and send her to the big forest safely. Is that okay? Said the big turtle. After hearing what the big turtle said, the big flower snake looked at Susan, who was on the turtle's back, and then said, "No problem, I will do my best to protect this little guy. Thank you very much." After the big turtle said that, he swam ashore and asked Susan to get off the turtle's back and follow the big flower snake into the tropical rainforest. Susan thanked the big turtle again, and then followed a big flower snake to the last primitive forest, the tropical rainforest. Before entering the tropical rainforest, Susan also asked the big flower snake some things about the tropical rainforest. After a brief introduction by the big flower snake, Susan was surprised to find that there were poisonous things everywhere here, not to mention poisonous snakes, scorpions, poisonous spiders and poisonous mushrooms. Even frogs, dragonflies, bees and even butterflies are highly toxic. Then, Susan suddenly asked, "Then are you also a poisonous snake?" Hearing her question, the big flower snake was stunned at first, then smiled and said frankly, "I was definitely not before, but it is hard to say now, because ever since I like to eat those yellow poisonous mushrooms, more and more toxins have accumulated in my body, and I occasionally prey on those slightly poisonous small animals. Now I am afraid I have become a real poisonous snake." Susan asked curiously, "So, does your big turtle friend know that you have become a poisonous snake?" The big flower snake blinked cunningly, laughed and said, "He probably doesn't know. I never told him about this. He always thought that I would be poisoned by eating poisonous mushrooms. In fact, I want to slowly turn myself into a poisonous snake by eating poisonous mushrooms. I'm afraid that if I tell him about this, he will call me insidious and cunning." Susan also smiled and said, "You are really cunning. I don't know how many pairs of eyes you can deceive like this." The big flower snake's expression suddenly became serious. "I have no choice but to do this. It is to increase my self-defense ability so that I can defeat those natural enemies who dare to despise me." Susan couldn't help but admire. "It seems that you can think long-term and take precautions before it happens. It's not simple. You are almost as smart as humans. Can you tell me your title?" "I still don't know how to call you." The big flower snake didn't seem to think about it, and blurted out, "You little guy, just call me Meng Wuji or Master Meng." "What do you think of this title?" Susan sighed sincerely. "How romantic. I didn't expect that you have a romantic sentiment." Suddenly, Susan remembered that he almost forgot an important thing, and asked quickly, "Master Meng, are there any chameleons in this forest?" The big flower snake thought for a while and said, "Chameleon? The chameleon you are talking about is the kind of big lizard that can change the color of its skin to be the same as the surrounding environment." Susan couldn't suppress his excitement and asked in surprise, "Yes, how do you know so clearly? Have you seen it somewhere?" The big flower snake said frankly, "Not only have I seen it, I almost always encounter it. I used to prey on them from time to time, but the shell on their bodies is too hard and difficult to digest. I won't prey on them unless it's absolutely necessary. What's more, my stomach is not as good as before. Basically, I am no longer interested in them. In fact, to be honest, I would rather eat a small lizard like you that has no hard shell and is not poisonous." Hearing the big flower snake say this, Susan couldn't help but be shocked, so he asked, "You don't really want to eat me, do you?" The big flower snake laughed and said, "Look at what you are thinking. You were entrusted to me by my old friend. How could I do something to betray my friend?" Susan didn't agree, and kept muttering in his heart, "Humph. Who knows what you, a hypocritical and cunning guy, are thinking. I'm not a roundworm in your stomach. Actually, it is very easy for you to kill me, and you will swallow me into your stomach to destroy the corpse, and then you can just make up a lie to the big turtle. It seems that you are a very cunning and dangerous guy. You don't eat me now, but it doesn't mean you won't eat me in the future. When you are too hungry, you will eat me as a snack." In this way, she and the big flower snake walked and talked, each with their own ulterior motives. Before they knew it, they reached the edge of the forest. In order to get rid of the huge threat of the big flower snake as soon as possible, Susan took advantage of the big flower snake's inattention and slipped to the nearest big tree. When she climbed to a branch in the tree canopy, she threw a sentence, "Goodbye, Master Meng. Thank you for escorting me into the forest just now." The big flower snake smiled and said, "You run so fast. Are you afraid of me?" Susan couldn't say a word. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1 6, 1 9, one book, One forum, one look. Her challenging adventure life in the rainforest officially began. She had to look for chameleons and avoid so many poisonous insects and poisons. This life was not easy. Although she could see living things at night as a lizard with night vision, she still could not see the color of the object very clearly. If she could not see the color of the object clearly, she could not judge whether the object was poisonous or not. This was because poisonous objects were generally very colorful and eye-catching. Therefore, she decided to hide in the tree at night and go out during the day. Although it was dangerous, it was the only way for now. From now on, Susan had to be extremely careful in every move, and she could not be careless at all. Although she was tired and hungry, it was late now, so she had to hide in the tree to rest and sleep on an empty stomach. She was afraid that she would accidentally prey on poisonous insects and die of poisoning. That would be too cowardly. Although her soul would not perish, she was still very unhappy if she was reborn into an unfamiliar creature. In the early morning of the next day, Susan woke up hungry before dawn. He looked at the gray sky and wondered what he should find to eat after the daybreak. It should be fine to catch small grasshoppers, locusts, flies and caterpillars. Of course, it is better not to touch the ones that are particularly eye-catching and cool. Who knows if they are gorgeous traps? In the blink of an eye, the sky was bright. Susan saw that it was time to find something to eat, so he carefully slipped down from the tree and quietly came to the bottom of the tree. He glanced around and saw that there was nothing unusual. He climbed onto a long grass leaf and began to look for small insects that could be eaten. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 479, Only an Assistant. Susan soon discovered that there were two completely different types of insects. One was very colorful, even a little exaggerated, the other was very low-key, gray, and difficult to find without careful observation. So, relying on her previous experience and common sense, Susan picked up those gray and low-key insects that always wanted to get away with it. Even so, she was still very careful. She first licked the green blood of the insects with her tongue to see if there was any abnormal reaction. After a long time, she saw that there was no special discomfort, so she dared to swallow the insect. After waiting for a long time, she still didn't feel uncomfortable, so she boldly caught the insects of this color and type to eat. In fact, this kind of gray and inconspicuous insects are not rare here, and there are many of them, so Susan quickly filled her stomach. Then, what she wanted to do next was naturally to look for chameleons. However, before she found a real chameleon, she found a very special lizard that looked a bit like herself and a bit like a gecko. The skin of this lizard was very colorful and strange, very eye-catching. At this moment, this guy was swaggering down from the tree. Susan estimated that this lizard might be poisonous. Should she get to know this poisonous lizard? If she accidentally annoyed this guy, would it be dangerous? Just when Susan was hesitating, the poisonous lizard, actually, it was a male lizard, actually found her, and walked over to her in a proud manner, asking bluntly, "Hey, little thing, where are you from? Why have I never seen you before?" Seeing this, Susan had to answer, "Yes, I just came to your place from a very far place yesterday." "Thank you for your care." The male poisonous lizard nodded and said, "I was wondering why I have never seen you before. It turns out that you are new here. Then you must abide by the rules here, otherwise, you will be in trouble. When the time comes, don't blame me for not giving you a vaccination." Susan hurriedly said in a low voice, "How can that be? I can't even thank you now, how dare I blame you?" Hearing Susan's understanding of the situation, the male poisonous lizard couldn't help but said complacently, "Well, not bad, it seems that you are still a very sensible little guy. Do you want to hang out with me?" Susan thought, "I just arrived here and I am unfamiliar with the place, so I might as well work under this guy for a while. After I am more familiar with this place, it will not be too late to change jobs." So he took the opportunity to say, "As long as you are willing to take me in, I will be so happy." "How dare I disobey you?" the poisonous male lizard said excitedly. "Well, that's interesting. Well, I will take you in. However, you have to make an appointment with me." "What's your name?" Susan told the truth. "My full name is Susan, boss. You can call me Susan." The poisonous male lizard suddenly asked in surprise. Well, why did you take a sissy name? You are not a female lizard, are you? Su-sam thought to himself, even if I don't admit it now, it will be exposed sooner or later. It is better to admit it honestly and let myself take the initiative. Thinking of this, Su-san honestly admitted, in fact, I am a female lizard, I can be your assistant, the poisonous male lizard said in surprise. Ah, it's really a female lizard. That's great. From now on, you will be my little follower, no, just be my assistant. I won't call you Su-san anymore, I'll just call you Zio-san. Su-san was overwhelmed when he heard it, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. Well, boss, I want to discuss something with you, can you not call me Zio-san, but call me by my full name? The poisonous male lizard asked in confusion. Why? Why don't you let me call you Zio-san? Su-san had to say honestly, because Zio-san means mistress or little wife, I feel embarrassed. The poisonous male lizard asked in confusion. What does it matter? Don't you want to be my little wife, but want to be my first wife? Su-san was so anxious that her face turned red that she defended herself. It's not like that. What I meant was, hey, how can I tell you? The poisonous male lizard looked at Su-san with a smile at this time, as if he was a weasel paying New Year's greetings to a chicken with ulterior motives, and said maliciously, you want to be my first wife? That's good, it shows that you are a good young woman with ideals and ambitions. I warmly welcome this. When the time is right, I will divorce my first wife and marry you. Do you like this? Seeing that this guy was getting more and more outrageous, Su-san was so anxious that she was sweating profusely, and hurriedly explained, I am not what you think I am. I don't want to be your second wife, nor do I want to be your first wife. I just want to be your assistant, that's all. You think too much? What did you say? The poisonous male lizard looked at Su-san as if he were a monster, and then threatened fiercely, don't you think how naive and stupid your idea is? Being my assistant is actually being my little wife. If you do well, you will have the opportunity to upgrade to my big wife in the future. Just wanting to be my assistant, this is impossible, there is no way. As long as you are by my side, you will never escape from my palm. Su-san raised her head, looked at the poisonous male lizard with a firm will and said, no one can force me to do something I don't want to do, and you are no exception. If I force you, what do you want? The poisonous male lizard continued to ask. I would rather die than obey, Su-san answered with a firm look. Would I pity a mere life like yours? The poisonous male lizard continued to threaten. Of course you won't cherish the lives of others, but you will definitely cherish your own life. No mistake in one song, one post, one content, one book, one forum, 1619, one book, one forum, one look. What do you mean by that? I mean, if I die, you're done for, too. Oh. This is the biggest joke I've ever heard in my life. Tell me the truth, why do I have to die with you if you die? It's not that I die and you die with me, but after I die, I will be reborn in your place, and you will be killed by me. What nonsense. I'm a rough guy and I don't understand. I just want to know, how can you kill me after you die? Could it be that you will become a ghost and take my life? It's more powerful than a ghost taking your life. You, a rough guy, won't understand. I don't want to scare you. I'm a high-tech product made by humans. If you annoy me, it will be too late for you to regret it. Boss, listen carefully. Oh, my goodness, I didn't expect you to talk so much. Do you think I was scared by you? I'm not afraid of you scaring me, I really didn't want to scare you. If you don't believe me, then come and try, go ahead and try. Do you think I don't dare? Lie on the ground with your legs up in the air and wait for me to deal with you. Chapter 480, Suffering in Silence. Su-san was horrified and said, Boss, do you really want to do this? The poisonous male lizard said carelessly, do you think I will joke with a little guy like you? Su-san cursed angrily, you are a shameless hooligan, you are despicable and mean, you are. Unexpectedly, she started to curse without thinking. Unexpectedly, the male poisonous lizard said shamelessly, go ahead and curse as hard as you can. Even if you curse until your saliva is dry, no one will come to save you. Why are you doing this? You might as well just obey me honestly. In a hurry, Su-san suddenly thought of a clever plan, a delaying tactic, and then smiled and said, boss, in fact, it's not that I don't want to be your concubine, but I just met you and I'm not familiar with you. I can't adapt to it for a while. You have to give me some time to adapt, right? The male poisonous lizard didn't expect Su-san to surrender, so he asked happily, "How long do you need?" After thinking about it, Sam said, "At least a month." "What, so long?" The male poisonous lizard heard it and became anxious. "No, absolutely not." "Then it will take at least half a month," Sam said with a step back. "That won't work either, it's still a bit long." The male poisonous lizard was still dissatisfied. "Then how long do you say?" Sam asked. "At most 3 days," the male poisonous lizard replied. "No, absolutely not. I have already agreed to be your concubine, which is the biggest concession. You are still forcing me. I will never agree. Instead of this, I might as well die with you," Sam threatened. "What is your minimum requirement?" the poisonous male lizard asked irritably. "At least 10 days, no less. This is my bottom line." Sam thought about it seriously and said, "Okay then. 10 days is 10 days. If you regret it after 10 days, don't blame me for being rude," the poisonous male lizard said angrily. In response, Sam complained in his heart, "Hey, what should I do? It seems that I only have 10 days. I must find a way to escape from the clutches of this guy in 10 days. In order to better implement his action plan, he must first paralyze his opponent and make him unaware." So Sam forced a smile and said, "I want to know what your assistant needs to do every day. You have to tell me this, boss." "Of course," the poisonous male lizard thought for a while and said, "From now on, you follow me and do whatever I tell you to do." "Oh, I see," Sam had to agree. In this way, she followed the poisonous male lizard from the tree to the bottom of the tree, then passed through a small section of grass and came to the root of another tree, about 0.5 to 1.5 meters from the ground, where there were densely packed purple-red mushrooms, and stopped. The poisonous male lizard said to Susan, "See, these purple-red mushrooms are my food today. I now order you to pick some of these mushrooms." Susan was shocked when he heard it and said, "Ah, boss, you don't want me to die now. Don't you know that these purple-red mushrooms are poisonous, and I am non-toxic? If a non-toxic life collects poisonous plants, won't it be poisoned to death? After all this time, it turns out that you are just a non-toxic female lizard. Ha ha. This is great. I see if you dare to disobey in the future, I can kill you in seconds." Hearing Susan's frankness, the poisonous male lizard couldn't help but become arrogant. "Hey, boss, you can't go back on your word. Otherwise, you know the consequences are very serious." Sam saw that he was a little too proud, so he kindly reminded him. "Hey, now you still want to scare me? You are exposed now. What amazing skills can a non-venomous female lizard have? If you have, you might as well take it out and let me see it. I really don't believe that a little lizard like you can still make a big wave in the palm of my hand. You should agree to be my little wife, otherwise, I will not be gentle with you," the arrogant male venomous lizard boasted unscrupulously. Seeing this, Sam thought it was useless to waste more words, so he might as well take this opportunity to deliberately show weakness to better paralyze this guy. Thinking of this, Sam pretended to be very pitiful and complained, "Boss, since you have seen through me and grasped my weakness, you should not go too far. If you love and cherish me, I will follow you wholeheartedly. Don't you think so?" Seeing that she was getting more and more submissive, the poisonous male lizard was even more overjoyed. Ha ha. "As long as you little thing is obedient, I will naturally not let you suffer." Susan gritted her teeth in hatred for this abominable guy, but in the current situation, she could only swallow her anger and pretend to be coquettish and said, "Boss, since you said you would be good to me and not let me suffer, then do you not want me to do this poisonous mushroom picking thing?" "Well," the poisonous male lizard thought for a while and said, "Naturally I won't bother you to do it. I have my own way." As soon as the voice fell, the poisonous male lizard looked up and shouted into the sky, "Daisy, Daisy, are you there? If you are, please come down." Unexpectedly, the poisonous male lizard called several times, but there was no response, and nothing came down. But just when Susan was about to laugh at this guy, suddenly, a blood-red tree frog suddenly jumped down from the dense leaves on the tree, hopped and skipped to the root of the big tree in front of Susan, and the poisonous male lizard glanced at Susan with its big eyes, and then asked the poisonous male lizard, "Boss, Daisy is not here. She has gone on a long trip. What do you want to see Daisy about?" When the poisonous male lizard saw it, he happily pointed at the purple-red mushrooms and said, "It's Boris. I don't have anything particularly important to do. I just want Daisy to pick some of the purple-red mushrooms here for me." The red tree frog Boris looked up at the purple-red mushrooms growing all over the roots of the tree, patted his chest and assured, "Do you still need Daisy for such a small matter? I, Boris, can do it for you." Hearing what he said, the poisonous male lizard was overjoyed. "That's great. Then please do it for me." Without saying anything, the red tree frog Boris gently jumped to the root of the tree where purple mushrooms grew, and picked mushrooms very skillfully. This guy obviously picked mushrooms frequently, otherwise, he wouldn't be so good at it. Soon, he threw the purple mushrooms he had picked to the feet of the poisonous male lizard. The poisonous male lizard swallowed the poisonous mushrooms without hesitation, which made Susan stunned. The red tree frog Boris saw Susan watching the poisonous male lizard eating intently, and thought she wanted to eat it too, so he picked a purple mushroom and threw it to her feet, saying generously, "There are plenty of these purple mushrooms. As many as you want. If you want to eat it, just eat it." Chapter 481, A New Life. Seeing that Boris obviously thought that she wanted to eat the poisonous mushroom, Susan hurriedly shook her head like a baby's rattle, and then said, "This purple-red mushroom is poisonous. I dare not eat it. I'm afraid of being poisoned." "What, you don't eat this mushroom because you're afraid of being poisoned? But we all like to eat this kind of mushroom. How come nothing has ever happened to us?" The red tree frog Boris looked at Susan as if she were a monster, and then glanced at the poisonous male lizard eating happily beside him, and asked in confusion, "If you don't eat this, what do you want to eat?" "If it's a non-toxic mushroom, I can try to eat some," Susan replied. "So, you have no resistance to toxins?" Boris asked. "Although I don't want to admit it, it's actually true," Susan said frankly. "You are so pitiful. You don't even have any resistance to toxins. How can you live here like this? The animals and plants here are poisonous everywhere." The red tree frog expressed deep sympathy for Susan. "Are you sympathizing with me? Actually, it's nothing. Don't you have many small insects that are not poisonous here? Can't I just eat those and still survive?" Susan defended herself. "That's true, but you have to be extra careful all the time. If you are not careful, you may be poisoned to death," the red tree frog kindly warned her. "Boris, have you seen a chameleon?" Susan suddenly changed the subject and asked. "Yes. There is one not far from us," the red tree frog answered honestly. "Really, Boris, you didn't lie to me?" Susan was immediately excited when she heard it, and she asked so stupidly. "Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you?" the red tree frog said seriously. "Then what do they eat every day? Do they eat poisonous things every day like you do?" Susan asked anxiously again. "That, I don't know. If you want to know, you can ask them yourself when you see them in the future," the red tree frog told the truth. Unexpectedly, the male poisonous lizard interrupted and said, "Susan, don't think about these messy things all day long. You are my assistant now, you must serve me wholeheartedly and don't let your mind wander. Do you understand? How can this be considered as wandering? Chameleons are also a very unique branch of our lizards, and they are our distant relatives. Shouldn't I understand their living habits?" Susan said disapprovingly. "If I say no, it is no, and it is not possible. Because I am the boss, everything is up to me. You must listen to me, understand?" the male poisonous lizard argued speciously. "Is this the privilege of being a boss?" Susan seemed to be a little silly and asked. "Of course, otherwise why do people want to be bosses and don't want to be workers?" the male poisonous lizard explained proudly. "It seems that what you said makes some sense, boss. So, I am your assistant and worker now, right?" Susan asked again. "Yes, it seems that you have finally got some ideas in your head," the poisonous male lizard actually praised her. "It's not that I have got some ideas, but that I have been fooled by you, boss." Unexpectedly, Susan said this. "Why do you think so?" the poisonous male lizard asked in astonishment. "Boss, do you want me to become very smart?" Susan asked back. "What's wrong with that?" the poisonous male lizard asked in confusion. "Of course it's not good. If I become very smart, how can you, boss, trick me into doing things that you are interested in but I am not willing to do?" Susan explained. The poisonous male lizard thought about it carefully, then nodded in agreement and said, "It seems that what you said does make some sense." Susan continued his words, "It's not just some sense, but it makes a lot of sense. Think about it carefully. Is it easier for you to fool a fool or a smart person?" After hearing her explanation, the poisonous male lizard stopped talking and looked ahead thoughtfully. In the early morning, when it was just dawn, Susan suddenly felt something itching on her face and felt very uncomfortable. She tried to open her sleepy eyes and saw a huge and gorgeous red dragonfly flying in front of her eyes. When Susan opened her eyes, it shouted loudly, "Oh, fool, Susan fool." A guy who wanted to be a fool finally woke up. Susan looked at the red dragonfly and asked in confusion, "Hey, who are you and why are you coming to me so early in the morning?" The red dragonfly smiled and replied, "My name is Daisy. Boris told me about you. I thought it was very interesting, so I came to see you early in the morning." Just as Susan was thinking about how to talk to the red dragonfly Daisy, the boss poisonous male lizard who was sleeping on the branch next to Susan was also awakened at this moment and said, "Is Daisy here? Daisy, take Susan to have a good time nearby. I need to sleep a little longer." Then, Susan followed Daisy to play around. Naturally, Susan climbed and jumped on the trees, grass and rocks, while the red dragonfly flew and circled in the air to show the way. While playing, they chatted about everything under the sky, which was quite interesting. Suddenly, an idea came to Susan's mind. Why don't I take this opportunity to let Daisy take me to meet the chameleon I have been looking forward to for a long time? Now, the boss is sleeping in. Isn't this a rare opportunity? Yes, I must seize this opportunity. Having made up her mind, she no longer hesitated and said to the red dragonfly Daisy, "Daisy, I heard that there are many chameleons in our big forest. Can you take me to have a look now? I'm so curious." Unexpectedly, Daisy said, "The places where chameleons live are actually quite a distance from here. I'm afraid we won't be able to come back until very late. I'm afraid that if we come back late, both you and I will be scolded by the boss." Susan was a little surprised, so she asked, "Boss, is he very powerful? Why are you so afraid of him?" Unexpectedly, Daisy said, "Of course, but you have to swear to me first that you won't tell tales about me in front of the boss, then I'll dare to tell the truth." Susan immediately swore to Daisy, "If I tell the boss a word about you in the future, I will be struck by lightning and die a miserable death." Seeing that Susan had sworn such a poisonous oath, Daisy began to complain without hesitation. "In fact, our red dragonfly family used to be a free group. Unexpectedly, a monster named Emmets appeared. He could climb and fly, was cunning, and knew the weaknesses of many animals, big and small. He actually controlled no less than 20 or 30 animals, including dragonflies, tree frogs, lizards, mice, owls, macaques, slow lorises, and poisonous snakes. Who knew that not long after, this monster suddenly disappeared, and the animals he controlled were torn apart and scattered. However, not long after, for some unknown reason, some different kinds of animals automatically united or cooperated, and our boss knew the tricks to control animals such as red dragonflies, tree frogs and lizards. In fact, he is not the most powerful one." Chapter 482, Getting More and More Urgent. Susan couldn't help asking out of curiosity, "So, there are many characters more powerful than our boss?" The red dragonfly Daisy said, "Of course, the chameleon closest to us is a tough guy who controls several kinds of insects and animals. He is probably more powerful than our boss." After hearing what I said, "Do you still want to go and see it?" Susan answered without hesitation, "Yes, why not?" The red dragonfly seemed a little reluctant and said, "Okay, I can take you to see it, but you are not allowed to talk to the chameleon. You can only watch from a distance. And if you come back late, you can't tell this to the boss. You can only say that we were playing in the forest and walked far away unknowingly, so we got lost and came back late." Susan asked in some confusion, "Why are you so afraid of the boss? Does he have any handle or weakness in his hand?" Daisy said with a sad face, "You don't know his ability. His greatest ability is that he has a very strong sense of smell. Red dragonflies like us are just like the boss's other subordinates. The boss can distinguish the smell on us clearly. As long as anyone dares to betray him, no matter where he runs to, he can catch the betrayer and execute him." Susan didn't believe it at all. "You are exaggerating. How is it possible? If you run out of this big forest and cross several mountains, will he chase you to the ends of the earth?" Unexpectedly, Daisy said, "Why should I run so far? Even if I run to a farther place in this big forest, it will be difficult to survive. You may not know that the competition and struggle between the various species in this big forest are very fierce. Take me, a red dragonfly, for example. If I run to another red dragonfly tribe, I will definitely be excluded and suppressed. Even if you are a female, you will be suppressed and bullied by the females in the tribe." Susan still didn't quite understand and asked, "What you mean is, if you betray your own tribe, even if the boss doesn't pursue you, you will not be welcome in other tribes and your life will not be easy. Then haven't you ever thought about being a lone knight who goes his own way and wanders around the world by himself?" Daisy was surprised and said, "How can you have such an unrealistic and adventurous idea? Do you think that kind of wandering life with no safety at all is romantic and enjoyable?" Susan said disapprovingly, "What's the matter? I lived like this before I came to this big forest." Daisy was shocked and almost didn't believe it at all. "How is this possible? This is not true. You deliberately lied to me, didn't you?" Seeing that Daisy didn't believe it at all, Susan had to briefly introduce his experience to her, which made Daisy stunned and almost speechless. Then, Susan said to the red dragonfly Daisy, who was hovering in the air, "Let's go. What are you still standing here for?" At this time, Daisy, who had not yet come to her senses, responded in a daze, "What? Where are we going?" Susan said with a smile, "Of course, take me to see the chameleon closest to us. You won't forget it so quickly, right?" Daisy suddenly realized, "Oh, so this is what you are talking about. I remember it. I will take you there now. You have to keep up with my speed." As soon as she finished speaking, she turned to the right and continued to fly forward. Susan shook his head and smiled bitterly, thinking, "This guy, he almost forgot it. Hey." Then, he quickly started to move forward, jumping and shuttling on the long grass, the leaves of the short trees, the trunks of the big trees and the big rocks. It is not far, but in fact, the straight line distance is at least several miles. As a little lizard, Susan walked for several hours before finally reaching there. In her heart, she also secretly marked all the important signs on the road to facilitate her next time she sneaked there alone. The two of them came to a distance of about 7 or 8 meters from the chameleon. If it were not for Daisy pointing out the specific location of the chameleon in detail, even at a closer distance, Susan might not be able to see the appearance of the chameleon. As expected, while a chameleon, it is really worthy of its reputation, almost blending into the surrounding environment. If you don't look closely, you are very likely to regard it as a leaf like the surroundings and never look at it differently. It is really a master of concealment and ambush, and is most suitable to be a scout and spy. Susan watched intently, dumbfounded, and amazed. Seeing Susan's stupid look, Daisy couldn't help but ask quietly with amusement, "Have you seen enough? If you have, we have to go back quickly. If we go back late, we will be scolded by the boss." When Susan heard this, she immediately pulled herself back to reality and nodded and said, "Okay, let's go back now." Sure enough, this time they went to see the chameleons and went back very late. When they hurried back to the place, the sun was about to set. Seeing that they came back so late, the boss, the poisonous male lizard, was furious and scolded them severely. Although they repeatedly emphasized that it was because they accidentally went to a far place and got lost in the big forest and couldn't come back for a while, they still didn't get the boss's forgiveness. The poisonous male lizard punished Daisy by not allowing her to meet Susan for a month and doing some hard work. He also punished Susan by not allowing her to leave him for a moment until she agreed to be his concubine and sleep with him. Although Susan and her boss were now living together, they were not sharing the same room, which made both Susan and her boss anxious and depressed. However, her mood was completely opposite to his. Susan was anxious to break up with her boss, while her boss was anxious to have sex with her. As time was approaching, Susan became more and more anxious. However, what Susan never expected was that just 5 days before her appointment with her boss actually sent his third concubine and fourth concubine to do ideological work on Susan, which made Susan even more depressed and distressed. The third concubine threatened Susan sternly, "Little girl, you'd better know how to behave and don't be stubborn, otherwise, you will suffer the consequences." The fourth concubine then used sugar-coated bullets. "I say, sister, look at me, I listen to the boss very much. I do what the boss tells me to do. Now I'll live a comfortable life of fine clothes and delicious food almost every day. Look how good it is." The two of them together were like 1,000 ducks, chirping in Susan's ears all day long, making Susan very annoyed and complaining. Just 2 days before the final appointment, Susan decided to take the risk and made an adventurous plan that scared herself. Chapter 483 Visiting Friends. At this moment, seeing the boss coming, Susan resolutely shook off the 1,000 ducks and deliberately said to the boss in a coquettish voice, "Boss, you see how bored I am these days. Although you sent your 2 sweet cookies with good intentions, they completely misunderstood your meaning. They always stay beside me and chatter all day long. My head is about to explode because of them. I am so depressed. Otherwise, from tomorrow on, you can take me out to relax. Once I relax and feel happy, I can accept you better with my whole heart. What do you think? Is this okay?" When the poisonous male lizard heard this, he felt that there was nothing wrong with Susan's idea. Anyway, he would accompany him personally, and he could take the opportunity to take advantage of him, so he agreed without hesitation. "Okay, but where do you want to go?" What a cunning guy, he actually threw a tentative balloon to me. I can't be fooled and easily expose my true thoughts in front of him. Thinking of this, Susan deliberately acted silly and coquettishly. "I have just come here not long ago. I am unfamiliar with the place. How can I know where is fun and where is not fun? Otherwise, I will follow you. Wherever you want to go, I will go there with you." Seeing Susan become so well behaved, the boss, the poisonous male lizard, couldn't help but be overjoyed, thinking that it was because his 2 concubines had done Susan's ideological work. Finally, the boss said with finality, "Well, tomorrow morning, I will take you out to relax and have fun." The next morning, the boss took his guards, a dozen lizards, the Boris tree frog and 3 red dragonflies, and went out with Susan. During this outing, Susan always pretended to be very happy. In fact, she was thinking about how to escape from this hateful male poisonous lizard all the time. However, she found that the boss's guards were very strict and there was no chance. In addition, Boris ran around and was very attentive, which made Susan's escape plan even more difficult and impossible to implement. You may ask, won't Susan escape when the boss and the guards are asleep? Susan thought about this problem on the first night. Unfortunately, the male poisonous lizard had expected this and took effective preventive measures. That is, every time before going to bed, it would wrap Susan several times with tough vines and tie her tightly, leaving her with no way out. Therefore, Susan had no way to escape at night, and could only think of a way during the day. However, it seems that there is no chance to escape even during the day, let alone at night, and Susan only has tomorrow, the last day. What to do? Susan was as sad as a bitter gourd, but she had to put on a smile on the surface, trying to please the boss and make him happy. Suddenly, an idea flashed in her mind. Susan came up with another idea. This might be the last chance. Whether it will succeed or not depends on her. So, she smiled at the boss and said, "Boss, you accompanied me for a walk today. I am so happy. But we walked around and saw the same scenery. There is nothing special. I thought you were biased and didn't want to take me to the most fun place. How am I biased? Where else do you want to go? This big forest is just like this." "The scenery is almost the same," the boss asked in confusion. "Then don't you have an ally or friend in this tropical rainforest?" Susan reminded him carefully. "I have a few allies. But we don't usually interact with each other. However, there is one close friend, and I still visit him from time to time. But recently I heard that he was sick, so I rarely interact with him," the boss said thoughtfully. "Boss, this is your fault. Why don't you visit your friend often when he is sick? This will hurt feelings." Susan took the opportunity to comfort him. "How can you say that? Why do I have to visit him often when he is sick? What if he passes the disease to me? Wouldn't I be in trouble? Where can I find a place to cry when that happens?" The boss defended himself with a strong argument. "Then is he suffering from an infectious disease?" Susan couldn't help asking. "I don't know either. I just know that this guy can't eat and is getting thinner and thinner. Even if I go to see him in person, I can't do anything. It's better not to go, so that he won't be sad when he sees me," the boss continued to defend himself. "So, his illness is definitely not an infectious disease. Common infectious diseases are cough and diarrhea. Maybe I can help him cure his illness. Who knows?" Susan said with determination. Do you really have this ability? Can you also diagnose and treat diseases?" the boss asked puzzled. "Of course, I have learned medical skills. I can treat common diseases," Susan said boldly. "In that case, I will take you to visit my old friend now." The boss thought it would be good to let Susan go and give it a try, because he also wanted to see if Susan's medical skills were as awesome as she boasted. "Boss, you are right to do this. Treat friends, especially old friends, as warm as spring. You should do this at ordinary times, and even more so when your friends are sick. Otherwise, over time, You will lose all your friends and eventually become a lonely person, Su Sam said with praise and education. I didn't expect that you, little thing, are quite good at talking, and you even have a set of tricks. The boss looked at Su Sam with a different eye at this moment. No, boss, you are too kind. I haven't done enough. Su Sam quickly lowered her posture and said modestly. If I say you can do it, you can do it. If you can't do it, it's okay. You don't have to be modest with me. Let's go now, the boss responded domineeringly. Boss, I think we should finish our meal before we go. Now I have been playing for most of the day and I am already starving. I will have the strength to go to see your friend after I have a full meal. Don't you think so? Su Sam pretended to be businesslike and deliberately said coquettishly. You are right. I feel a little hungry now. Let's eat a full meal before we go. I originally wanted to go to my old friend's house to eat for free, but after thinking carefully, since that guy has been sick for so long, he will definitely not treat us well. So we might as well eat a full meal first, the boss explained seriously. Boss, it turns out that you usually go to visit your old friend to eat for free. Su Sam took the opportunity to mock him. I'm not as dirty as you say. Visiting an old friend is the most important thing, and eating is just a secondary thing, the boss replied a little embarrassedly. After dinner, everyone set off and headed towards the home of the boss's old friend. About an hour and a half later, Su Sam followed the boss and his group to a gloomy and dense forest and stopped in front of a huge unknown tree. The boss asked the tree frog Boris to go and inform him that an old friend of his came to visit him and brought him a doctor to treat him. Chapter 484, Infuriating Medical Techniques. The tree frog Boris came back quickly to report, Master Gubandao wants to see the boss. The boss poisonous male lizard asked his guards to stay under the tree, and asked Boris to lead the way, while he climbed up the tree with Su Sam. Along the way, Su Sam found that there was a lizard guard standing guard on almost every branch, and the place was very heavily guarded. It seems that the lizard leader named Gubandao did a good job of protecting the boss, while the boss poisonous male lizard seemed to be far inferior. If Su Sam stayed here, would it be difficult to get away? However, as long as she was not tied up tightly at night, Su Sam thought she still had a chance to escape. Not long after, Su Sam was surprised to find that Boris actually led her into a large tree hole. Could it be that this Gubandao lizard actually lived in his tree hole? Wouldn't his living environment be much better than the boss's? At least he would not suffer from wind and rain. After entering the tree hole, Su Sam was surprised to find that Gubandao was lying in a small wooden house in the tree hole that was bitten by small animals, probably mice, and there was a lot of dry and soft silk grass under it. The living conditions here were obviously much better than those of the boss. Su Sam subconsciously turned his head to glance at the boss, and immediately noticed a trace of envy on the boss's face. Then he thought that the reason why the boss didn't come here often later was not because of Gubandao's illness, but maybe because Gubandao moved into the tree hole. Just as Su Sam was looking around, a weak voice came from the mouth of the master lying on the bed. You are here, and I heard that you brought a doctor. Where is he? Come and see him. The boss hurriedly pushed Su Sam to Gubandao and introduced him in a serious manner. This is the doctor I brought for you. I heard from her that her medical skills are quite good and she has the magic of bringing people back to life. Su Sam was embarrassed by what the boss said. She lowered her head shyly like a girl on her first blind date, and said in a soft voice, Don't listen to his nonsense. I just know a little about medicine. I don't know if I can cure you. I just want to try. I hope I can cure you. Oh, I didn't expect it to be a female lizard. It's rare. I believe you really have some real skills. Maybe you can really cure me. My intuition is always good. Gubandao actually encouraged Su Sam, which surprised Su Sam. Okay, let me take a closer look at your illness. As soon as she finished speaking, Su Sam climbed onto Gubandao, used her two front paws to pry open his big mouth, carefully looked at his tongue, and then pressed everywhere on his body, and asked him if he felt any pain. Some places he said hurt, while others said no. Su Sam also carefully asked Gubandao about his diet in the past 2 days, and she had a rough idea in her mind and was confident. As a super modern alien, such ancient Chinese herbal medicine techniques can be said to be the most basic medical knowledge that is required. For her, it is simply a piece of cake. Then, Su Sam prescribed medicine for Gubandao. The so-called prescription means to calculate in her mind what herbs to pick for him, the approximate dosage, and the length of the treatment. Picking medicine is actually to go to the forest to collect herbs. and it is necessary to collect a full and sufficient amount of herbs. However, it was almost dusk at this time, and it was not suitable to go to collect herbs. Then we could only wait until tomorrow morning to go to collect herbs. It would be best to stay at Gu Bandao temporarily tonight. Su San explained the situation to Gu Bandao and the boss. Gu Bandao was naturally very happy, but the boss, the poisonous male lizard, was not happy. Su San had to patiently persuade him and even acted like a spoiled child. Finally, she convinced the boss and he reluctantly agreed to stay temporarily. The next morning, just after dawn, Su San woke up the boss and asked him to untie her so that she could go to collect herbs for Gu Bandao earlier. However, the boss refused to do so, saying that he needed to get enough sleep first. Su San was so angry that she couldn't help shouting and attracted Gu Bandao's lizard guards to ask her what happened. Su San whispered to the boss, "Boss, if you don't untie me, I will ask the guards to come in and untie me. Then, you will be embarrassed." The boss thought about it and finally had to compromise. He whispered, "Just ask the guards outside the tree hole to leave now, and I will untie you. I didn't expect you to be so stubborn when it comes to being a doctor." After Su San drove the guards outside the cave away, he said to the boss disapprovingly, "What do you mean by stubborn? This is called professionalism. I can't explain it to a rough guy like you, Tisk. The more I talk, the more excited you are, right?" The boss said angrily, "If you say weird things again, I won't untie you. I didn't expect that you would despise me before you even get married. It really makes me angry." Su San saw that something was wrong, and hurriedly said to him in a soft and gentle voice, "Boss, you are not so stingy, are you? I am just complaining a little. Why do you take it so seriously? When I cure this guy's illness, I will serve you well. You don't think seriously that my medical skills have improved, which will be of great benefit to you. In case you have any minor illness or disaster in the future, I will be able to treat you, right? By then, will you be able to leave me?" When the boss heard this, he suddenly realized that he had not expected that Su San's treatment of Gu Bandao would be good for his future. Only then did he turn his anger into joy, and even a little bit of fawning. He happily untied her, and was willing to accompany her to the forest to collect herbs on an empty stomach. Naturally, he also brought his guards and all the members who came out to play. In this big forest, Su San led the boss, Boris and 2 guards to collect herbs, while the other guards were responsible for alerting and catching insects and other food as everyone's meals for the day. This clear division of labor allowed them to work and eat at the same time. However, even so, they still spent most of the day to get all the herbs and their quantities they needed. When everyone returned with a full load, the sun was about to set. However, although it was a little late, it did not affect Su San's feeding of medicine to Gu Bandao. Su San first picked up 1 or 2 herbs and put 2 leaves in her mouth to chew them. After chewing them, she spit them into Gu Bandao mouth to mouth. No mistakes in one poem, one post, one content, one 6, one book, one bar, one look. Seeing this scene, the boss was so anxious that he wanted to jump up and curse, but when he saw Su San winking at him, he realized that this was treating the patient, not flirting, let alone kissing. Unexpectedly, after that, Su San repeated this annoying thing many times. The boss couldn't stand it any longer, but he couldn't get angry, so he had to leave. Su San wanted the poisonous male lizard to leave, because his presence would make him feel constrained and unable to boldly display his unique medical skills. Chapter 485 Delaying Tactics. After Su San fed the medicine to Gu Bandao, the boss could not wait to urge Su San to go back with him. Su San asked him why he was in such a hurry, because she had to stay here to treat her old friend Gu Bandao and could not leave. The boss said hurriedly, "Have you forgotten what day tomorrow is?" Su San pretended not to know and asked, "What day is tomorrow? Will it snow tomorrow?" The boss laughed and said angrily, "Why are you so busy that you become stupid? Tomorrow is a good day for both of us." Su San deliberately pretended to be stupid and asked back, "A good day for both of us? Could it be that we will have another good day? Why don't I know about it?" At this moment, the boss was almost crying because of her. "Tomorrow is the day when our 10-day agreement ends and we begin to live happily together." At this point, Su San knew that she couldn't play dumb anymore, and had to pretend to be suddenly enlightened and said, "Ah. So, tomorrow is really a good day. How could I be so busy that I forgot such an important thing? Since you already know about this, why are you still staying here? Come back with me quickly. I have to hold our wedding tomorrow with a grand ceremony. If you don't leave now, it will be too late," the boss urged anxiously. But this won't work. Now your old friend is still so seriously ill. How can I, a doctor, leave without permission? Susan had to find an excuse to shirk. Why can't I leave? You are not his family doctor. You can leave if you want. From now on, I am your husband. If I say you can leave, you can leave. I have the final say on this matter, the boss said unreasonably. How can this be? We can't build our happiness on the pain of others. This will make others poke at us and we will be despised by the world, Susan argued. Then what do you say? Seeing that it was no use to continue arguing with Susan, the boss asked in frustration, do you have to stay here forever? When did I say I would stay here forever? Susan explained, but I have to cure the disease before I can leave. Then how long do you plan to stay here? The boss couldn't help asking. I don't know exactly how long. I estimate it will take at least half a month. Susan thought for a while and said. Why does it take so long? No, absolutely not. I will give you 3 days at most. You must cure this guy's illness within 3 days. If you can't cure it, I will come and take you away by force after 3 days, the boss, the poisonous male lizard, said angrily. How can you be so unreasonable? How can I cure his illness in 3 days? I'm not a god. I'm just an ordinary doctor at most. I can't even be called a miracle doctor. Don't make it difficult for me, okay? Be good and listen to me, okay? Susan really had no other choice, so he used the method of using softness to overcome hardness. The boss stared at Susan without blinking and said, the reason why I don't want you to stay here alone for a long time is that every time I see you feeding this guy medicine mouth to mouth, I feel uncomfortable. When have you ever been so affectionate to me? How come this guy who has nothing to do with you has run ahead of me? I really can't understand it. Seeing the boss's jealous look, Susan couldn't help laughing, and after laughing, he said, so, boss, you are jealous. This is not easy to deal with. I will also feed you a few herbs mouth to mouth. How about it? The boss was overjoyed when he heard it. That's great, then come now. Susan then picked up 2 pieces of herbs from the remaining herbs around her, sucked them into her mouth and chewed them twice, then started mouth to mouth with the boss, and then asked her to spit the herbs with saliva in her mouth into the boss's mouth. The boss held it in his mouth and started chewing it as well. Unexpectedly, the herbs Susan took were extremely spicy, so spicy that he almost shed tears, so he swallowed them hurriedly, and said with a smile, you did this on purpose. This doesn't count. I want to do it again. Susan forced herself to hold back her smile and picked out the 2 bitter leaves from the herbs, and put them into the boss's mouth again as she did before. This time, the boss felt so bitter that he felt all his internal organs had become bitter. It was truly unbearable. Susan asked with a smile, boss, do you still want to try? The boss hurriedly shook his head and said, I don't want to try anymore, just forgive me. Susan took the opportunity to say, boss, now you know, I am treating him, not having an affair as you imagined. Now, you should know how difficult it is for us to be doctors. It can be said that we have to work tirelessly and sleep on straw and taste gall. Think about it carefully. Do you want me to become a useless vase like your concubines, or do you want me to become a concubine who can be your little vase and treat you? You have to think clearly now. After hearing what Susan said, the boss had to lower his head and think seriously again. After a moment, he looked up at Susan and said, I will give you 7 days to treat him here. I will go back now. I don't want to stay here for a moment. After 7 days, I will come here again. If you haven't cured him by then, I will stay here and watch you treat him. What do you think? Frowning slightly, Susan thought for a while, and replied, well, within 7 days, you don't come here, so that I can't concentrate on treating him. Don't send Boris to interfere with my work. Just leave 1 or 2 red dragonflies to report the news. I will try my best to cure his illness in these 7 days and prevent his illness from getting worse again. And after 7 days, you come again and I will see if I need to continue to treat him. Okay, that's it. When the time comes, you are not allowed to find excuses to regret it, the boss said with finality. Of course, I promise that I will never find excuses to regret it again. Bye, Susan said with a smile. The boss only left 2 red dragonflies for Susan's messengers to report the news, and left here with other members and returned to their old nest. Now, Susan finally won another 7 days, and she decided to make good use of these last 7 days to escape from the sea of suffering. Although she has temporarily escaped the control of her boss, she will still be monitored by the guards of Gubandao within 7 days. If she wants to completely get rid of her boss's dog skin plaster, she has to play the trump card of her current patient Gu Bandao. First of all, she tried to calm herself down and carefully treated Gu Bandao and gave him medicine. After 5 days of treatment, she saw that his condition had improved greatly, his diet had basically returned to normal, and his speech was not as weak as at the beginning, so she began to talk to him actively. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 486, Unexpected. Su San asked, Master Gu Bandao, what level's your lizard tribe in this forest? Gu Bandao replied, it's average, not as good as the best but better than the worst. In fact, he now has a good impression of Su San and trusts him very much. He basically answers all his questions. After all, she is a female doctor recommended by an old friend, and she is about to cure his illness. Su San asked again, do you have natural enemies? Is the biggest natural enemy far from you? Gu Bandao smiled and replied, of course we lizards have natural enemies. There are all kinds of eagles, falcons, vultures and owls in the air. In addition, there are natural enemies in the forest. There are all kinds of snakes, scorpions and poisonous spiders on the ground, and all kinds of monkeys, gorillas, mandrills and koalas in the trees. The natural enemies closest to us are naturally the poisonous insects and poisons on the ground, and the various natural enemies in the trees generally live in fruit trees. As long as we don't live in fruit trees and stay away from the woods where they live, we should be relatively safe and can generally avoid their sudden attacks. Frowning and blinking, Su San said thoughtfully, so, what is your relationship with the chameleons in this big forest? Gu Bandao thought for a moment and said frankly, generally speaking, our relationship with the chameleons is one of minority. Of course, there are very few exceptions. There are 1 or 2 chameleon tribes that have a fire and water relationship with our lizard tribe. The relationship is very tense and on the verge of daggers drawn. These chameleon tribes are not too far away from us, and occasionally they take provocative actions against our tribe. If it is not a very serious incident, we will generally try our best to restrain and tolerate it. Su San became interested when he heard it, and asked hurriedly, interesting, have you ever provoked them? Gu Bandao said seriously, we are the most moral lizard tribe. How could we provoke other tribes for no reason? Su San asked somewhat puzzled, then tell me, why did the chameleon tribe provoke your tribe? Gu Bandao said a little lacking confidence, how should I know? Maybe they are attracted by our elegant geographical environment, or maybe they think we are easy to bully. Who knows what the real reason is? Su San thought for a moment and asked again, have they come to provoke you recently? Gu Bandao said frankly, they came here a while ago, but since you came, they have strangely stopped coming. Hearing this, Su San couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Just as she was thinking about the reason, suddenly, outside the cabin in the tree hole where Gu Bandao lived, a lizard guard reported, report to the chief, the Gabon chameleon tribe has provoked us again. When our soldiers went to argue with them, they actually arbitrarily captured 2 of our soldiers and said that they wanted our chief to meet their leader in person to discuss relevant matters and take the captured soldiers. This is really speaking of Xiao Xiao. Xiao Xiao appears. Su San thought, it can't be such a coincidence. It seems that this is a godsend opportunity. I must not miss it. Unexpectedly, Gu Bandao angrily said to the guard who came to report the news, tell them that I am busy now. I will visit their leader after I am done with this work. Also, tell them not to mistreat our soldiers, otherwise be careful of our revenge. Just as the guard was about to go and report, Su San immediately stopped him and said, wait, Master Gu Bandao, I think we should not put on airs at this time. We should agree to their request and go to the meeting. Gu Bandao asked in confusion, what? Agree to their request and go to the meeting? Isn't that a sign of weakness? How can a doctor like you understand politics? Do you know how deep the water is? Su San explained the facts to Gu Bandao in a neither arrogant nor humble manner. Although I am a doctor, it does not mean that I don't understand politics and strategy at all. Because I know that the other party must have a reason for doing this, it is definitely not without reason. If you don't go, how will you know why they do this? And if you don't go, it means you are arrogant, and maybe it will anger them. When the situation becomes serious, it will be even more difficult to deal with. Seeing that Gu Bandao fell into deep thought after listening to what he said, Su Sam thought to himself, "Little guy, you still look down on me. I was the queen of the Ant Empire in my past. If I tell you this, you will be scared to death, at least." After a moment, Gu Bandao looked at Su Sam with doubtful eyes and asked, "But, can I go to the meeting when I'm so sick now?" Su Sam said confidently, "It doesn't matter. Tomorrow morning, I will bring herbs and accompany you to the meeting in person as your family doctor." What do you think? Seeing that Su Sam agreed to accompany him in person, Gu Bandao was relieved and turned to the guards and said, "You go and tell them that tomorrow morning, I will go to meet with their leader in person and I will never break my promise." The early morning came, the dawn gradually brightened, and the sun gradually revealed its round face of egg yolk color. Su San woke up Gu Bandao, who lived in the log cabin next door, and then gathered all the tribal soldiers with him in the dense branches for a speech, asking everyone to be vigilant and ready to fight at any time. Then he led a guard of more than 20 lizards towards the chameleon tribe that had provoked his tribe. Unexpectedly, the chameleon tribe, which had long been hostile to the Gu Bandao lizard tribe and often deliberately provoked them, actually used the most grand and lively etiquette to express the most sincere welcome to the arrival of Gu Bandao and Su San and his group. The several large trees occupied by the chameleon tribe were hung with all kinds of colorful flowers. This made Gu Bandao both pleasantly surprised and uneasy, wondering if he was dreaming or had gone to the wrong place. It was not until the leader of the tribe, Gadan Wang, personally led the leaders of the entire tribe to greet him that he was sure that this was not a dream and that he had not gone the wrong way. No mistakes. The chameleon tribe Gadan Wang actually hugged Gu Bandao enthusiastically. For the two former enemy leaders, it was obviously a bit too enthusiastic, and it was a bit artificial and false. Surprisingly, Gadan Wang ignored Gu Bandao's embarrassment and shyness, and introduced his subordinates to him one by one, just like they were old friends. Infected by Gadan Wang's enthusiasm, Gu Bandao shook hands with his subordinates one by one with tears in his eyes. Then he introduced his personal doctor Su Sam to him, and praised her superb medical skills, which made Su San lower her head in embarrassment. Unexpectedly, Gadan Wang led his subordinates to shake hands with Su San one by one to show respect, which made Su San excited and moved. After all, this was the first time that the chameleon she had been thinking about had the most intimate contact with her. Chapter 487, The Host. Soon, Gadan Wang and other leaders invited Gu Bandao and Susan to a conference hall on a tree made of vines, twigs and leaves. Then they took their seats, and Gu Bandao's guards were entertained by soldiers from the chameleon tribe outside the hall. It was only then that they really got to the point. First, Gadan Wang gave a passionate speech. He did not mention the conflict between his tribe and Gu Bandao's tribe, but talked about the non-existent traditional friendship between their tribes. This shocked Gu Bandao, who thought that Gadan Wang had taken the wrong medicine or had amnesia. However, Gadan Wang then changed the subject and said that their chameleon tribe and even the entire lizard race were currently facing an unprecedented threat. It turned out that in recent days, a group of special mammals, slow loris, that like to attack and prey on chameleons suddenly appeared from nowhere in this large forest. Therefore, Gadan Wang strongly called on all chameleon and lizard tribes to unite immediately to fight against their current biggest enemy, the damn slow loris. As expected, there is no free lunch in the world. The reason why Gadan Wang suddenly changed his tune and showed goodwill to Gu Bandao was that he wanted to use their traditional lizard tribe to deal with the biggest enemy of the chameleons recently, the slow loris. However, what puzzled Gu Bandao and Su San was that this chameleon was not made of hard armor and the best camouflage in the world, the color-changing camouflage uniform. Even their good natural equipment could not resist the attack of the slow loris, so wouldn't the traditional lizards be even more difficult to compete with? Later, when Gadan Wang had just finished his speech, Gu Bandao immediately raised his question to Gadan Wang. However, Gadan Wang said that although the chameleon's defense was decent, it was no match for the cunning slow loris. In addition, the toxins in the chameleon were minimal, which led to the slow loris being able to hunt without hesitation. This might cause the chameleon population to suffer a catastrophe. However, ordinary poisonous lizards like Gu Bandao had unexpected abilities, and some of them had night vision, so they could sneak attack the slow loris at night and bite the slow loris to death with their venomous teeth. In other words, although the chameleons had strong defense capabilities, they were helpless in front of this group of cunning slow loris, and could only sit and wait for the tragic fate of death. However, The lizards of Gubandao and other tribes had unparalleled powerful abilities in night attacks and other offensive aspects. It can even be said that nowadays, the ordinary poisonous lizard tribes such as Gubandao are the only support and reliance of the chameleon tribes such as Gadanwang. It is unexpected that the chameleon family has now fallen to the point of needing the protection of the lizard tribe they once despised, and it is the only effective protection, if the lizard tribe is willing to take their place to attack their biggest enemy, the slow loris, at night. No wonder the chameleon tribe led by Gadanwang is so enthusiastic about the lizard tribe of Gubandao. Gubandao and Susan, who know all the details, are not surprised at all. It is really a situation of 30 years in the east, 30 years in the west, and now the initiative is completely in the hands of Gubandao, who seems to have a good feeling of who Hansen, and back again. And can't help feeling a little elated. Seeing Gubandao complacent and silent, Gadanwang and his subordinates, big and small leaders, felt bitter in their hearts, but they dared not show it at all. Instead, they looked at Gubandao with smiling and expectant eyes, hoping to get a satisfactory answer. However, this cunning and annoying Gubandao just didn't say a word. After a while, Gadanwang had to ask again, "Dear old friend, is it okay or not? You have to express your attitude. If you have any conditions, just mention them. We will try our best to meet your requirements." Unexpectedly, at this time, Gubandao almost made everyone present faint with anger except Susan. "I haven't thought about it yet. I will tell you when I think about it." Now, Gadanwang even regrets it. Why did I do it in the first place if I knew this would happen? If I had known that I needed to beg others so humbly today, I should have treated them better, and I wouldn't be in such a passive situation now. Then, why didn't Gadanwang ask for help from other lizard tribes that had no hatred or conflicts with him, but asked for help from Gubandao with whom he had a long-term grudge? Isn't this too stupid? Actually, Gadanwang also had his considerations. First, a distant relative is not as good as a close neighbor. The Gubandao lizard tribe was the closest to him. If Gubandao was magnanimous or his request was not excessive, why would he give up the distant? Second, this matter was urgent, and seeking help from the close neighbors was naturally his first choice. As the saying goes, distant water cannot quench a nearby fire. If he went to ask the distant lizard tribe, not to mention that it would take a lot of time to discuss and negotiate back and forth, it would also be a problem whether they would agree or not, because they were not familiar with him at all and were not even close to him. Whether you live or die is none of their business. However, if Gubandao was really unwilling to help or asked for too high a price, then Gadanwang would have no choice but to ask for help from other lizard tribes, no matter how much time and money it took. Seeing that Gubandao refused to give a clear answer, Gadanwang suddenly became anxious and asked in a low voice, "Dear old friend, how long will it take you to consider before you are willing to give us a clear answer?" Unexpectedly, Gubandao's next sentence almost made Gadanwang angry. "It's hard to say. It will take at least 10 days or half a month to consider it. What's more, my illness is not healed yet. I came to meet you with the illness. Otherwise, why would I bring my personal doctor here for the meeting? If you don't believe me, you can ask the doctor next to me." Seeing this, Susan nodded quickly to indicate that what Gubandao said was completely true. Seeing that Susan nodded to confirm that what Gubandao said was true, Gadanwang was really complaining in his heart, but he was really at his wit's end. So he tried his best to force out a smile that was uglier than crying and begged Gadanwang, "Dear old friend, could you have pity on the tragic experience of our tribe and try to help our brothers? I will be grateful and am willing to work like a horse at your service in the future." The cunning Gubandao immediately seized on his words and asked, "Are you serious? Are you really willing to work like a horse at my service?" Unexpectedly, at this time, Gadanwang had already lost his mind in anxiety, and did not know the grammatical error in his words. He was possessed by some ghost and foolishly promised, "A gentleman's word is as good as gold. I promise to keep my word, no mistake. One poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum." Gubandao clapped his paws and said excitedly, "You said that yourself. That's what I want. If you lead your tribe to join me now and let me take charge, I will immediately agree to help you deal with your great enemy, the slow loris." Chapter 488, Dealing with Slow Loris. At this time, Gadanwang finally realized that his exaggerated words in a hurry would actually sell himself, and sell at a low price. It was too late for him to regret it now, unless he wanted to tear his face with Gubandao and never have any contact with him again, and then go to other lizard tribes for help. But would other lizard tribes be easy to talk to? Would he have so much time to bargain? Moreover, if he refused to merge with Gubandao this time, his bad reputation of going back on his word would be known to everyone. Then, would other lizard tribes still believe him when he went to ask for help in the future? In this way, it seems that for now, it is better to agree to Gubandao's conditions. As for the future, we will talk about it after driving away or eliminating the enemy slow loris. Thinking of this, Gadanwang finally stopped struggling and pretended to be a servile person, kneeling down to Gubandao and prostrating himself on the ground, saying, "I am willing to lead my troops to surrender to you, sir. I hope you will accept my offer." Gubandao was overjoyed when he saw this, and smiled as he helped Gadanwang up and said, "From now on, we are a family. Your affairs are my own affairs. Of course, I will not stand idly by." In this way, Gubandao took advantage of the danger of the chameleon tribe and conquered the Gadanwang tribe with a little trick. It can be said that he is sinister and cunning. It seems that chameleons are not only large and clumsy, but also slow in movement, and their brains are not very good. Gadanwang asked anxiously, "Commander, when do you plan to send troops?" Gubandao thought for a while and said, "I plan to send a scout team tonight to find out the specific situation of the enemy, so as to provide reference for the next action plan." Gadanwang asked anxiously, "Under normal circumstances, it is normal and understandable for you to do this. But I am worried that the slow lorises will continue to attack our tribe in the next few days." Just as the two of them were discussing how to act, a chameleon signalman came outside to report to the leader, "Several slow lorises came just now and killed more than a dozen of our soldiers." Seeing this, Gadanwang spread his hands and said to Gubandao with a sad face, "Commander, the situation is already quite critical. My troops are now your subordinates. You can't just stand by and watch us die. Please help us as soon as possible." Gubandao glared at Gadanwang fiercely and said with dissatisfaction, "Didn't I say I wouldn't go to rescue you? Don't you think that it's broad daylight and the slow lorises are not asleep yet? If we go out to find them now, it would be tantamount to going to our deaths. Isn't it stupid to do so? No matter what, we have to wait until after dark." Gadanwang was scolded by Gubandao and lowered his head with a red face and no longer said a word. Unexpectedly, at this time, Su San said, "I have a good idea that can have the best of both worlds. I wonder if you two can listen to my advice." Gadanwang and Gubandao looked at Su San at the same time and asked, "What good ideas do you have? Tell me quickly." Su San said slowly, "Since slow lorises like to sleep at night and don't have night vision, it shouldn't be a problem for us to sneak attack them at night. The key is whether it is a good idea to sneak attack them. We can send 2 lizard guards to scout first, and Gubandao will lead the remaining lizard guards to follow behind and keep a distance. This way, we can ensure that when we get good news, we will all pounce on the enemy, and when we get bad news, we can evacuate in time. What do you think of my idea?" Gadanwang and Gubandao immediately exclaimed in unison, "Good idea, let's do it." At this time, Gadanwang had to look at Su San with admiration, and said, "I didn't expect that you, a doctor, are so smart and resourceful. It's amazing." Su San smiled but said nothing. Gubandao became ambiguous with Su San. "The doctor led by this old friend is indeed extraordinary. I have to find a way to keep him by my side." After nightfall, Gadanwang personally led 2 chameleon soldiers as guides for Gubandao's lizard troops, and walked at the front of the team with 2 lizard guards, and soon opened up a large distance from the main force. After nearly 2 hours of running, for chameleons that crawl as slowly as turtles, this is running, but for ordinary lizards it is strolling, Gadanwang finally led the reconnaissance team to the nest of the slow loris, several large trees where the slow loris lived in groups, and pointed to the slow loris that were sleeping soundly and unsuspecting in front of them to show the 2 lizard guards, scouts at this time, of Gubandao, asking them to look carefully and go back to report to Gubandao to attack. The 2 lizard guards immediately turned back and reported to the main force behind them, while Gadanwang stayed with 2 of his chameleon soldiers to continue observing. Not long after, Gubandao and Su San and his lizard guards caught up. After seeing the enemy situation in front, they immediately ordered the guard captain to lead the whole team to attack immediately, and asked the attacking troops to use 3 lizard guards to deal with and bite a slow loris, so as to ensure victory. Obviously, the slow lorises never dreamed that a vulnerable and pitiful chameleon would call for reinforcements, and what they didn't expect was that it would actually launch a night attack. This time, the slow lorises were in trouble. A total of more than a dozen slow lorises on a big tree were almost bitten to death by the night attack team of Gubandao. The slow lorises on other trees were awakened by the screams of the slow lorises on this tree and were confused and at a loss. Gubandao also had 3 or 4 lizard guards who were caught or strangled to death by the dying slow lorises before they died. There were as many as 7 or 8 lizards who were injured and scratched. Seeing this, Gubandao made a prompt decision and ordered the troops to return to the camp. The lizards finally won a great victory and showed their faces in front of the chameleons, which greatly improved the prestige of the Gubandao lizard tribe, leaving all members of the Gadanwang chameleon tribe with only envy, jealousy and shame. After such a great victory, a celebration banquet was naturally held. Gadanwang willingly took out all the delicacies collected in his tribe to reward Gubandao's guards and congratulate them on their great victory tonight. Everyone was beaming with joy and gathered together, completely immersed in a lively and festive atmosphere. No mistake, one song, one post, one content, 1/6, 1/9, one book, one bar. After eating and drinking, everyone was sleepy and relaxed, and fell asleep one after another, thinking that the world would be peaceful from now on. At this time, there was only one relatively sober person left at the scene, Susan Lizard. Only she felt that the current situation was a little wrong. Everyone was so careless and it was very dangerous. Maybe this danger will fall on everyone's head tomorrow morning. What should I do? Susan thought. Chapter 489, Escape from the Sea of Bitterness. Why didn't Susan tell Gubandao and Gadanwang about her bad premonition? In fact, Susan had deep considerations. To put it simply, there were 2 reasons. First, everyone was already overwhelmed by victory, and her words might not be heard by everyone. In addition, everyone was drowsy after eating and drinking, and couldn't walk, and the chameleons were so slow. In addition, it was just dawn, and it might be too late even if they wanted to leave. Second, today was the last day of Susan's second appointment with her boss, the poisonous male lizard. In other words, now was indeed her last chance to leave her boss and Gubandao, and it was also the best chance. After considering the above 2 reasons, Susan finally decided to leave here. If she didn't leave now, when would she leave? Thinking of this, Susan began to consider the escape route. She had to avoid both her boss and the slow loris. Finally, she chose the northeast direction as the safest and most suitable. Then, she tiptoed out of the chameleon's nest of Gadanwang. At this time, everyone was immersed in sleep without exception. Even if she escaped in broad daylight, no lizard would be able to notice her. Unexpectedly, before she ran far, or rather, she had just escaped to a big tree nearby, she was discovered by Red Dragonfly, one of the 2 red dragonflies left behind by the poisonous male lizard to monitor Susan. They were actually suggested by Susan to stay behind in order to confuse and appease the boss. Seeing that Susan was acting suspiciously, Red Dragonfly flew over and asked, "Hey, you, the boss's new wife, everyone is sleeping, but you are not. You sneaked out, what are you trying to do?" Susan was shocked to see that her secret action was discovered. Then she listened carefully and found out that it was a red dragonfly left behind by the boss to monitor her and report the news. She frowned and came up with a plan. She turned her head and said to Red Dragonfly with a smile, "I'm not used to sleeping in broad daylight. I just found that there are not many herbs left to treat Master Gubandao. I want to go out and pick some herbs while they are all asleep. If you're free, come with me to pick herbs." What's the point of accompanying her to pick herbs? Red Dragonfly was about to decline, but then changed his mind. Isn't my most important mission to stay here to monitor her? How can I leave my post just because I like? No, this is absolutely not possible. I must go with her. Wherever she goes, I will go. Having made up his mind, Red Dragonfly immediately replied, "Well, I will go with you. Wherever you go, I will follow you." Susan just thought that she might be able to drive this red dragonfly away, but she didn't expect to meet a stubborn person who is loyal to his duty. She secretly complained in her heart, "What should I do? Oh, forget about it, just take it one step at a time." In this way, Susan walked in front, constantly jumping through the long grass, on the rocks and on the top of the roots of the big trees. Obviously, the height was much lower than at night. This was because during the day, she had to try her best to avoid the sneak attacks of various monkeys in the trees and the big birds in the sky. Unlike at night, the probability of poisonous snakes, scorpions and poisonous spiders on the ground during the day was lower. Red Dragonfly A was flying leisurely above Susan's head, while Red Dragonfly B was catching small insects for breakfast near the chameleon's nest in Gadanwang. According to the original plan, they would take turns in a while, but at this time, Red Dragonfly A was too busy monitoring Susan to take care of breakfast. Just 1 hour after Susan left here, the place was retaliated by the slow lorises and bloodbathed with beastly beasts. Almost all the chameleons and lizards were killed and no one survived. It turned out that the slow lorises, which suffered a heavy blow last night, found the dead lizards hanging on the branches shortly after dawn. They immediately realized that it was a lizard army that attacked them last night. As they often attacked chameleons recently, they judged that it might be a revenge action launched by the rescuers invited by the chameleons. The furious slow lorises leader immediately decided to carry out an unprecedented revenge action against the chameleon tribe. Red Dragonfly B had been hovering nearby. After finishing his breakfast, he searched everywhere nearby but couldn't find Red Dragonfly A. He thought Red Dragonfly A had gone out for a walk, but he waited and waited but didn't see Red Dragonfly A come back. Just when he was about to go out to look for Red Dragonfly A, he suddenly found that the branches and leaves around him were shaking. He was wondering what was going on when suddenly, countless slow lorises jumped out from the surrounding woods and pounced on the camp of the chameleon tribe of Gadanwang. A bloody massacre unfolded right under Red Dragonfly B's eyes. Witnessing all this with his own eyes, he was terrified and horrified. In the end, he was so frightened that he became mentally disturbed and confused. He stupidly stopped on a branch and was seen by a bloodthirsty slow loris, which slapped him to death, ending his short life. Meanwhile, Susan was already hundreds of meters away, jumping and running away, pretending to collect some herbs, but it was difficult for her to carry them alone, so she said to the Red Dragonfly A who always followed her, "Hey, buddy, go back and ask a few buddies to carry the herbs, the more the better. There are too many kinds and quantities of herbs here, and I alone cannot carry them. Go quickly, or you can carry these herbs." Seeing Susan urging her so anxiously, and even tricking her, Red Dragonfly A suddenly complained in her heart, "What should I do? If I leave, who will keep an eye on my boss's new wife who is about to marry? I am so anxious. That damn brother only cares about eating, and I don't know where he is now. He doesn't know how to come to help me and save me the worry." Just when Red Dragonfly A was anxiously running around like an ant on a hot pot, Susan began to add fuel to the fire. She shouted, "Are you deaf or dumb? Why don't you say anything? Or don't you want to go, afraid that I will run away? Don't worry, I will wait for you here, and I won't go anywhere. Go and call a few more brothers to carry herbs." In order to escape from the sea of suffering, Susan, who rarely lies, had to lie. Red Dragonfly A saw that Susan spoke seriously and calmly, with a calm face and no heartbeats, and did not look like a lie. Red Dragonfly A, who had little experience, actually believed it and thought that Susan would really wait for him here, so he said to Susan, "Stay here, don't walk around, I will be back soon. You must wait for me." As soon as the voice fell, Red Dragonfly A immediately flew quickly towards the camp of the chameleon tribe of Gadanwang. Even though he was tired and hungry, he did not dare to rest at all. Susan saw him flying away, and immediately turned a corner and ran in another direction she had thought of beforehand. Moreover, this time she was so bold that she jumped and ran on the tops of long grass leaves and the crowns of short trees. In just a few minutes, she ran more than 200 meters. Chapter 490, New Encounter. At this time, Red Dragonfly A saw that the slow loris was killing chameleons and lizards and was about to end. He was shocked and at a loss. Faced with such a cruel and cold-blooded scene, he was so scared that he lost his judgment and decision-making ability. Now he didn't know whether to go back to Susan first or report to the boss first. For a moment, he was hesitant and hovered around the big tree for several minutes. Finally, he decided to go to Susan first, talk to Susan about this matter, and ask her to make a decision. What's more, he just promised Susan that he would go back immediately. But to Red Dragonfly A's surprise, Susan was also missing, and his first reaction was, could she have been captured and killed by the slow loris? Then, he calmed down and thought about it, and felt that this was impossible, because this place was about 700 to 800 meters away from the scene of the incident. Such a long distance would be impossible for a small mammal like a slow loris to see it, unless they were eagles in the sky. Then there is only one more reasonable explanation left. Susan ran away, but why did she run away? Where would she run to? At this time, Susan had already run away to a place 500 to 600 meters away from here, and she was tired and hungry, so she climbed up a big tree to hide, and caught some insects to fill her stomach. Now even if Red Dragonfly searched for Susan for 3 days and 3 nights in a few miles, he might not be able to find him. Poor him, at this moment, tired and hungry, plus 2 shocks, he fainted, fell to the ground, and fell into the weeds. After a while, he was swallowed by a passing snake and left this world with his brother, Red Dragonfly B. From then on, Susan finally got rid of the control of his boss, the poisonous male lizard, and began his new adventure. That afternoon, she thought that it was unlikely that she would encounter a big enemy like a poisonous snake in broad daylight, so she boldly caught insects such as grasshoppers, moths and beetles in the bushes. Just as she was busy and happy, suddenly, a fierce-looking large poisonous snake with patterns jumped out from a dark corner deep in the bushes. The snake rushed to Susan and shouted, "You little bastard, stop right there. You are my snack and I am eager to eat you. Don't move." Susan was shocked when she saw it. Don't poisonous snakes usually not come out in broad daylight? Why was it so abnormal today that a poisonous snake suddenly jumped out? I was really scared. I heard that the poisonous snake spoke in a dialect and told me not to move. Isn't this too funny? Just when Susan was at a loss and didn't know whether to laugh or cry, the venomous snake saw that she was frightened and wanted to take the opportunity to pounce on her and bite her. Unexpectedly, it was grabbed by a white-cheeked tarsier that appeared from nowhere, and then the white-cheeked tarsier bit off the snake's head. This is a special monkey that is much larger and heavier than the slow loris. They prey on cold-blooded animals such as snakes and lizards, and are one of the permanent residents living in this tropical rainforest. Looking at the white-cheeked tarsier in front of him, who rescued him in time and was now eating the venomous snake, Susan was overwhelmed with mixed feelings. This animal that was once an enemy actually saved his life today. With gratitude, Susan saw the white-cheeked tarsier who was about to finish eating the poisonous snake. He said to him in the tarsier's Mandarin, "Thank you for saving my life. How can I repay you?" Unexpectedly, Susan's words made the white-cheeked tarsier drop his jaw in surprise. He stared at Susan with wide eyes and said, "I didn't expect that you, a little thing, could actually speak our language. I am shocked and feel it is a bit unbelievable. You are really not an ordinary lizard. Originally, I planned to serve you as my next dish. Now I have changed my mind. I want to take you back to show off and say that I caught a talking food. I want my friends to envy me to death." Susan did not expect such a dramatic scene to appear. He said in surprise, "Please don't do this, okay? You will put my life in danger if you do this." The white-cheeked tarsier said, "Little thing, don't be afraid, I will try my best to protect you." Susan said helplessly, "Please don't call me little thing, I have a name, my name is Susan, and I am a female lizard. I hope you can keep your word and really protect my life safety." The white-cheeked tarsier looked at her in astonishment and said, "So your name is Susan, and you are a female lizard. Not bad, I like it. Although I am a male monkey, I like female monkeys the most. Now I have a female lizard who can speak our monkey language. It's great. I will definitely keep my word and protect you, little thing. Oh, Susan, your life is safe, so that you will never have to worry about your life again from now on, Alice." Susan didn't take the male monkey's boasting seriously, and secretly complained in her heart, "I have met another guy who loves to talk big and brag. What should I do in the future? At present, I can only take it one step at a time. Sooner or later, I will have to find a way to leave this boastful guy." Having made up her mind, Susan no longer had wild thoughts and worries. At worst, she would be reborn as a monkey in her next life. Anyway, it was not the first time, and she felt that she had been a lizard for a long time. Before she could think about it, the white-cheeked tarsier grabbed her and prepared to take her back to his residence to show off to his companions. At this moment, Susan shouted, "Wait, my savior, I don't know your honorific title yet. How should I call you?" The white-cheeked tarsier answered without hesitation, "My name is Shaking Blue Pants. You can call me Shaking Blue Pants Benefactor from now on, okay?" Unexpectedly, Susan objected, "Cry all, Benefactor, isn't your name too cool? Do you want me to give you a color name?" "What?" the white-cheeked tarsier asked in confusion. "You mean, my name is not nice?" "It's not nice, but it's quite not nice. How about this, I'll change your name to a nicer one, let's call you Don't Laugh. What do you think?" Susan said. Well, I'm just a big rough man anyway. I don't know what's good and bad. You say it's good, that's all. I'll listen to you. Unexpectedly, the white-cheeked tarsier answered like this. Susan didn't expect the white-cheeked tarsier to be so easy to talk to, so he smiled and said to him, "Don't laugh, benefactor, let's go now." "Okay, don't laugh," happily held Susan with one hand and climbed up the tree with the other hand, sometimes swinging between trees, and suddenly there were dangers everywhere, which often scared Susan so much that her heart was pounding, so Susan had to say to "Don't laugh. Benefactor, please put me behind your neck. I will hold your neck tightly and won't fall. In this way, you can concentrate on climbing trees and swinging, and there will be no mistakes." Chapter 491, Monkeys in the Tree. Okay then, as soon as he finished speaking, Busuzio put Susan on the back of his neck as Susan wanted, freed one hand, and climbed and swung on all fours as usual. From then on, there was no more danger. Not long after, the white-cheeked tarsier named Busuzio brought Susan to the monkey tribe where he lived. Obviously, this was another monkey tribe living in the trees. At first, the monkeys were accustomed to the return of Busuzio and didn't care at all, because they knew that Busuzio was a naughty monkey, and he was bold and liked to travel far away. I don't know where he went to play today, but looking at his happy face, it seems that he encountered something happy again. So, a buddy who had a close relationship with No Laughing came over from another big tree curiously and asked, "Hey, Shaking Blue Pants, what good thing happened to you today? Look, you are laughing so happily." Unexpectedly, Susan, who was hiding behind the neck of No Laughing, stuck his head out and interrupted in tarsier language, "Hey, big brother, my benefactor, he is no longer called Shaking Blue Pants, but No Laughing. What's going on?" The tarsier, who had played with No Laughing since childhood, pointed at Susan and asked in surprise, "Where did you catch this little lizard that can speak our monkey language? You can't tell me that you happened to meet it again." "I really happened to meet it again, and I saved her life. In order to thank me, she changed my name to No Laughing. This is actually true again. How come you are so lucky every time? Last time it was a leopard that saved you from the python's mouth, saving you from bad luck. This time it was you who saved a very smart little lizard. However, the name you changed now is too funny, and it says No Laughing. When I hear this name, I can't help but want to laugh. Ha ha. Don't laugh, Pikachu, stop making trouble." No Laughing saw that this guy was endless, so he warned. "Hey, I won't laugh anymore, I've laughed enough," Pikachu said, but turned his head and shouted to other island monkeys in the distance, "Come and see. There is something you can't imagine here." "Pikachu, why are you shouting so loudly? As if you are afraid that the whole tribe doesn't know," No Laughing complained hurriedly. "He is more fond of showing off than you, benefactor, am I right?" Susan took the opportunity to interrupt. "How am I showing off? Man, do you think you can keep this strange thing a secret from everyone? I tell you, it will be known throughout the tribe in less than a day. Who will be able to take the blame when the Monkey King blames us? Instead of that, it is better to let everyone know as soon as possible," Pikachu said confidently. "Then you might as well offer me directly to the Monkey King, wouldn't that be the best?" Susan said sarcastically. Unexpectedly, the two idiots Busuzio and Pikachu said in unison, "Yes, why didn't we think of it?" As soon as the words fell, the monkeys called by Pikachu immediately surrounded them and asked in confusion, "What didn't you think of? Tell us." The two idiots quickly covered up and said, "Nothing, we were just chatting casually." At the same time, Susan also took the opportunity to hide in the arms of Busuzio. "Bullshit. You two want to play tricks on us? No way. Tell the truth, do you have anything here that we can't imagine?" Among the monkeys who came to watch the fun, an older male monkey with a fierce face jumped out and asked loudly, "There's really nothing you can't imagine. We are just joking with you guys," No Laughing also hurriedly explained. Really joking? Everyone looked at the two fools who were joking casually with suspicion and anger. When they were about to get angry, suddenly, a sharp-eyed monkey pointed at the arms of No Laughing and said, "Everyone, come and see, the kid Dowlink who has hidden alive food. What's the big deal? We all do this often so that we can take it out as a snack whenever we are hungry," the older and fierce-looking monkey said disapprovingly, and then he asked No Laughing and Pikachu again, "Tell the truth, were you two joking with us just now?" The two idiots nodded in agreement quickly, but the older and fierce-looking monkey immediately became so angry that he stopped talking, swung his hand and slapped Don't Laugh and Pikachu hard. Two papa noises were heard, and the other monkeys who were watching the fun also followed suit and punched the two idiots. At least each monkey was punched twice, and then everyone left them alone and dispersed. Looking at the two monkeys in front of her who were beaten and bruised, Susan couldn't help but shed tears and cried softly, "It's all my fault. I caused you two to be beaten and suffer. Does it hurt? Do you want me to pick some herbs to apply to you too?" Pikachu widened his eyes, looked at Susan in surprise and said, "I didn't expect that this little lizard is so conscientious and knows how to comfort us. However, forget about picking herbs. We are often beaten. This little injury is nothing." At this moment, Busuzayo suddenly asked, "When are we going to give this clever little lizard to the Monkey King?" Pikachu said without hesitation, "Of course, the sooner the better." To avoid more trouble, unexpectedly, Susan objected, "I don't want you to give me to any Monkey King. I just want to follow you too, no mistake, one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum." Seeing this, No Smile was so anxious that he was sweating profusely. He hurriedly persuaded her, "My aunt, I beg you. When you get to the Monkey King, you will be lucky. You will have delicious food and spicy drinks, and everything you want." Pikachu also joined the persuasion team. "That's right. What's the benefit of you following us? We can't protect you, and we have to worry about you. You just saw that we were beaten for no reason in order to protect you from being snatched away by them." Although Susan didn't say anything, he was complaining in his heart, "It's because you are too talkative and want to show off. You deserve it. Now you want to offer me to your leader to ask for credit and reward. It seems that you are not a good person either. Alice. My life is so hard, and it seems that another ordeal is coming." The two monkeys didn't care what Susan thought. Without saying a word, they took Susan to the residence of the tribal chief, now the Monkey King, and ran away. Naturally, they took the air corridor in the forest, which is also the exclusive passage for apes. Soon, the two of them brought Susan to the outside of the Monkey King's residence. To Susan's surprise, the Monkey King actually lived in a cave. Although the cave did not look very big, it was big enough to avoid wind and rain, and it was warm in winter and cool in summer. It was really a good place. Chapter 492, Monkey King Banquet. It seems that the life of every leader of a group is almost a best, and the idea of suffering first and enjoying later is probably only thought of and done by humans, and other creatures can never think of and do it. I saw Pikachu walked up and said to the guard monkey guarding the cave entrance with a smile on his face, "Brother, please go in and report to the king." "I, Pikachu, have something important to report to the king." Unexpectedly, the guard monkey was too lazy to even look at him, and said disdainfully, "The king is busy and has no time to receive guests. If you have anything, tell me first, and I will convey it to you when the king is free." Wow, I didn't expect that. It is easy to see the king of hell, but it is difficult to deal with the little devil. This watchdog looks down on people. Obviously, Pikachu was very angry with the guard monkey, but he couldn't afford to offend him and didn't dare to get angry, which made him blush and embarrassed. Seeing that Pikachu was not doing his job well, No Laughing walked up to the guard monkey, nodded and said, "Brother Door, wow, it's the door god, hello. We do have a very urgent and important matter, and we have to go in and report to the king in person. Please go in and inform him quickly. Otherwise, you can't bear this responsibility." "Oh, you want to scare me, right? I'm not afraid of you. Do you think I don't know you? Aren't you the little hairy monkey shaking blue pants who likes to show off and make mischief everywhere?" The guard monkey ignored No Laughing and said seriously, "I'm officially telling you monkeys, today is the queen's birthday, and the king has issued an order. All idle monkeys are not allowed to enter the cave. If you two monkeys know what's good for you, get out of here. Otherwise, if the king knows that you two came here to make trouble, you will be in trouble." Pikachu took the opportunity to explain, "Brother, we do have something important to ask the king to do. Please let us in." The guard monkey immediately blew his beard and glared at him, scolding, "You two monkey cubs still want to fool me. Do you think I don't know? You two just want to sneak in, say a few nice words, and then eat and drink for free and take advantage of it? Do you want to hide your little tricks from me?" No Laughing had to explain, "Absolutely not. How can you judge a gentleman by your own mean heart?" When the guard monkey heard it, he immediately became angry. "Oh, you can't win the argument, and you actually started scolding. I knew you two little bastards were not good people. Go to hell." Before he finished speaking, he kicked No Laughing in the chest. In a flash, Susan, who was hiding behind the shoulder of No Laugh, saw the guard monkey kicking at his benefactor unreasonably, and couldn't help but get angry. Just when the guard monkey's bare feet were about to kick him, Sam suddenly pounced on him and bit his big toe hard, then turned around and jumped back to No Laugh's shoulder. The guard monkey screamed in pain, "Oh, my God. Good boy, you dare to let the lizard bite me. Today I must beat you up, you little bastard." As soon as he finished speaking, he raised the wooden stick in his hand, a bare dry branch without leaves and branches, and hit No Laugh, who was so scared that he immediately turned around and ran away. Seeing that he had done something wrong and hurt himself, Pikachu immediately rushed forward and hugged the waist of the angry guard monkey tightly, and shouted to No Laugh, "No Laugh, you idiot, where do you want to run at this time? Hurry up and go into the cave, explain the truth to the king, and ask the king to make a decision for us. I'll block this stupid guard for you here, why don't you go in?" No Laugh, who was running away, stopped immediately and turned his head to look behind him. He saw that his companion had indeed hugged the guard monkey and temporarily made it unable to move. He was immediately overjoyed. It seems that his good partner played a role at the critical moment. "Now, I'm going to risk it and rush into the cave directly. I don't believe that the king will not forgive us after knowing the truth." Thinking of this, he rushed into the cave without hesitation. Unexpectedly, when he first entered the cave, it was pitch black in front of him and he couldn't see anything. What was worse was that he accidentally knocked down a fat monkey. Fortunately, he was not a monkey king, but it was bad enough. He was the captain of the Monkey King's guard, named Tiankui, with a hot temper. He was loyal to the Monkey King and fulfilled his duties, so he was deeply trusted by the Monkey King. This time, Don't Laugh bumped into Tiankui for no reason, which was a big disaster. But at this time, Don't Laugh didn't know who he had knocked down in the dark. He got up and continued to rush in, knocking down several VIP monkeys in succession. These VIP monkeys were naturally the guests of some status invited by the Monkey King to the banquet. This time, No Laughing was in big trouble, but he was so confused that he didn't know anything about it. He only knew that he had knocked someone down, so he hurriedly got up and rushed inside again, knocked himself down and got up again. In this way, he stumbled and rushed inside, and soon he broke into the hall in the cave where the Monkey King held a banquet. He saw that the hall was very large, about 200 square meters. The walls of the hall were inlaid with dozens of luminous gems as big as eggs, which illuminated the hall. The hall was crowded with dozens or even hundreds of berets of all sizes, and it seemed that every monkey had some background. They were either the Monkey King's wives, concubines, children, or the distinguished guests invited by the Monkey King and their families. It was really a place full of distinguished guests. All the monkeys present cast their surprised eyes on a young male monkey who stumbled into the cave. The male monkey was covered in mud, looked embarrassed and panicked, which was really funny, but his eyes were looking around, as if he was looking for something. In the blink of an eye, No Laugh quickly found the location of the Monkey King, hurriedly walked up to the Monkey King, and knelt on the ground with a thump and reported to the Monkey King, "Report to the Monkey King, I have a treasure and want to present it to the Monkey King as a birthday gift for the Queen." The Monkey King looked at the young male monkey who had inexplicably broken into the cave, and asked in surprise, "What treasure? Take it out and have a look." No Laugh felt relieved immediately, and hurriedly looked over his right shoulder, and said, "Baby, come down quickly, your good days are coming." As soon as he finished speaking, he was stunned. "Well, what's the matter? Why is it gone?" He turned his head and looked over his left shoulder, but still couldn't see her. He was confused. What happened? Where did she go? She was on my shoulder when I first entered the cave, but she disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yes, I remember that when I entered the cave, I knocked down several tarsier monkeys, and I also knocked myself down. I must have lost her when I knocked them down. But when I knocked her down several times, which one did I lose? This is terrible. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 493, Adapt to Changing Circumstances. Just when No Laughing was daydreaming, suddenly, several monkeys broke in from outside the cave. One of the VIP monkeys walked directly to the Monkey King and said to him, "I say, Eastern neighbor Monkey King, your subordinates are too unruly. How can they rush into the cave? They also knocked down several VIPs in a row. It's really unreasonable, At this time, No Laughing, who was kneeling on the ground, had been frightened out of his wits, trembling all over, sweating profusely, and secretly complaining in his heart, "Why am I so unlucky? This is over." At this time, the Monkey King was also confused. For a moment, he didn't figure out what was going on. He accidentally saw No Laughing kneeling on the ground, and then he remembered that this guy said he wanted to offer him some treasure, but he didn't take it out for a long time. Could it be that this guy knocked down my guests? Thinking of this, the Monkey King could not help but get furious, and he asked No Laughing sternly, "You bastard, did you knock down my distinguished guest? Didn't you say you had some treasure? Why didn't you take it out? Are you trying to play a trick on me?" Before the Monkey King could finish his question, No Laughing felt his eyes go dark, and he fell to the ground with a thump, and fainted immediately. However, the Monkey King was still angry and shouted, "Come on, monkey, take this idiot out to feed the dogs." Unexpectedly, at this moment, the fat guard captain Tiankui staggered in and shouted, "Wait a minute, King, I have details to report." The Monkey King hurriedly stopped the guard monkey who was about to come and pull No Laughing, who had fainted, and looked at the guard captain with puzzled eyes, which undoubtedly meant that if you have something to say it quickly, and if you have to fart quickly. Unexpectedly, Make You Cry came close to the Monkey King's ear and whispered mysteriously, "I can only tell you this alone." Seeing the captain of the guard so cautious, the Monkey King felt that it must be a very important matter, so he said to him simply, "Okay, come to my bedroom." The Monkey King took Make You Cry and turned left and right, walked for dozens of meters, and came to a relatively hidden small cave hall that was 10 meters square. Then the Monkey King ordered his 2 trusted guard monkeys to guard 5 meters outside the small cave hall and not to let any other monkeys approach. This small cave hall is actually the Monkey King's small bedroom and leisure room. There are 3 goose egg-sized luminous gems embedded on the walls of the cave. There are none on the side near the cave door. At this moment, the Monkey King said, "Now, you can finally speak." "Right," the captain of the guard replied, "Come out, now you can finally see the king." As soon as he finished speaking, an ordinary little lizard slowly crawled out from behind the neck of Tiankui, and then climbed onto his right shoulder, looking at the Monkey King with bright eyes, as if he was very spiritual. What happened? How did Susan end up in the hands of the captain of the guard, Tiankui, and how did he offer her to the Monkey King? It turned out that when Don't Laugh brought her into the Monkey King's cave, the first person he knocked down was Tiankui, and because Don't Laugh walked so fast and bumped so hard, he actually knocked down the fat and big captain of the guard. Which was also because the captain of the guard was not walking steadily and didn't pay attention. This heavy collision actually knocked Susan, who was lying on the shoulder of No Laugh, to the ground. She fell hard to the ground, and her eyes were full of stars and black. For a moment, her night vision was actually ineffective. In fact, her night vision was still not as good as normal eyes. Therefore, after No Laugh quickly got up and rushed in again, Susan, who was in the dark, actually mistook Tiankui for No Laugh and hurriedly climbed onto the shoulder of Tiankui, thinking that he would continue to rush into the cave after he got up. However, she soon found out that she was wrong, and she was wrong in an outrageous way. This guy was not only not No Laugh, but also not Pikachu, but a monkey she didn't recognize at all. This was because she found out that it was wrong from the guy's stinky mouth. Susan was immediately confused. For a moment, she didn't know what to do. In a hurry, she actually asked Tiankui in the monkey language, "Who are you and what do you do?" The confused Tiankui was stunned when he heard it. He quickly looked around, but it was dark and he couldn't see anything. So he plucked up the courage to say, "I am the captain of the Monkey King's guard." "Who are you? Where are you? Stand out." Suddenly, Susan had an idea and threatened him in a mysterious way, "I am a wise lizard sent by the gods in the sky. I am next to your neck now. Don't move around and don't try to be rough with me. If you don't listen to me, I will bite your neck immediately and bite you to death. I am a poisonous lizard with poisonous teeth." Tiankui was scared to death when he heard it, thinking, "Who did I offend? I actually met such a smart poisonous lizard, and it said it was sent by the gods in the sky. Is it true? It is better to believe it than not to believe it. After all, my life is in their hands." Thinking of this, Tiankui softened immediately and begged in a crying voice, "Zioxen, if you have any instructions, just tell me, I will do it." After thinking about it, Susan had an idea in her mind and said, "Take me to see your Monkey King. I have something important to tell him." Hearing her say this, Tell you to cry trembled all over, thinking, is this little guy going to harm our king? If that is the case, wouldn't I be a traitor? How can I do such a dirty thing of selling out my master to survive? So he lied and declined, saying, our monkey king is very busy today and will not see any guests. Susan knew that this guy was playing tricks, so she said bluntly, I know you are afraid that I will murder your monkey king, so you are making excuses not to take me to see him. Don't worry, I promise you that I will never harm your monkey king. Besides, what good will it do me if I harm your monkey king? Would that be courting death? Am I that stupid? No mistake, one poem, one post, one content, one book, one forum. Make you cry was speechless after Susan's series of questions, thinking, maybe I am overthinking, and seeing that he is talking so confidently and eloquently, he doesn't seem to be a sinister and cunning person. Then I will ask him why he wants to see our monkey king. Having made up her mind, Make You Cry turned around and asked sincerely, can I ask, Xioxin, what exactly do you want to see our king for? When Susan heard this, she started to wonder. Why is this guy so long-winded? Isn't he too difficult to deal with? It seems that his suspicion of me has not been eliminated. I must completely eliminate his suspicion. Thinking of this, she said in a serious tone, I will tell you clearly now, I just want to join your monkey king, and use my wisdom to become your monkey king's military advisor, to give you advice and make achievements. That's all right, right? Chapter 494, The Monkey King Employs. Susan's words immediately dispelled the worries of Call You Cry. Call You Cry said with a smile, so you came to seek refuge with our king. Why didn't you say so earlier? I was worried for a while. Well, the misunderstanding is cleared up. I'll take you in. Just like that, Call You Cry took Susan back to the cave, and soon after, the scene described in the previous chapter appeared. The Monkey King pointed at the little lizard on the shoulder of the captain of the guard. Call You Cry with a smile and asked, what's going on? So Call You Cry repeated what Susan said to him to the Monkey King. The Monkey King listened to Call You Cry's narration as if he was listening to Arabian Nights. He looked at Susan, the little lizard, in disbelief and was just stunned. Seeing this, Susan said to the Monkey King in her eye language, what he said is true, I can testify to it. The Monkey King looked at Susan in shock, and said incoherently, this is actually true. How is this possible? How could this happen? It's incredible. Susan looked at the Monkey King and said disapprovingly, the world is so big that there are all kinds of strange things. Maybe there are even stranger things than this, but you just haven't seen them. King, why are you making a fuss? Really, is there anything stranger than this? The Monkey King asked doubtfully. Of course, according to my calculations, something big may happen to your tribe in the near future, Susan deliberately threatened. Is it true or not? How do you know? Can you predict the future? The Monkey King asked doubtfully. Actually, this was not Susan's nonsense, nor was she really good at predicting. It was based on the different expressions she saw in the hall of the cave just now when she followed Call You Cry, and she had a bad premonition, and this premonition was always accurate. When she was the princess and queen of the Ant Empire before, she had similar premonitions. As a result, a major disaster occurred not long after. Once she was almost buried in the queen's palace, and once she was the last queen to go out for inspection on her own Air Force One Lamang dragonfly, and she fell into the pond and died and turned into a dragonfly larva, completing a new reincarnation. And will this premonition bring disaster to herself? Or will it bring disaster to this monkey tribe? It is unknown. Therefore, Susan simply said this premonition. If there is a disaster that only falls on her head in the future, instead of their heads, wouldn't that be better? Even if they want to blame themselves at that time, they can't find anyone to blame, because by then they may have died and reincarnated again. The Monkey King looked at Susan with a very surprised and strange look and asked, what big thing will happen? Can you explain it clearly? Susan had to be frank, it must be a big bad thing. How would I know what it is? I just have a bad premonition, but I don't know what it is. Because I am not a prophet. However, my premonitions have always been relatively accurate. I hope the king can take precautions early, so that the bad hidden dangers can be eliminated as much as possible to avoid a major tragedy. Hearing what Susan said, the Monkey King suddenly became nervous, and then his eyes rolled around and he fell into deep thought again. On the other hand, when Pikachu entangled the unreasonable guard monkey so that Bu Suzio could take Susan into the cave, he suffered. First, The guard monkey hit his head and shoulders violently with his arms, forcing him to loosen his arms. Then, he was kicked hard by the guard monkey and fell backwards to the ground. Then, the guard monkey rushed up and beat him with a wooden stick. He was beaten on the ground with his head in his hands and kept wailing. However, what the guard monkey never expected was that when he was tired of beating and was ready to rest for a while, Picasso, who was lying on the ground wailing, suddenly stretched out his legs and hooked the guard monkey to the ground, then took the opportunity to pounce on him, snatched the wooden stick from his hand, and beat the guard monkey without thinking, and beat him back, making the guard monkey cry and beg for mercy. Afterwards, Picasso saw that it was almost done, his revenge had been taken, and his hatred had been relieved, so he threw down the stick, went into the forest, and fled. When the Monkey King was in deep thought for a long time and his frown gradually relaxed, Susan suddenly said, "The male monkey named Don't Laugh, who rushed into the banquet hall today, is my benefactor. He saved my life this morning. I hope you won't treat him badly." The Monkey King pondered for a moment, then said, "Okay, this, I know. Is there anything else you want?" Susan thought about it, shook his head, and said, "No, for now. I will inform you in time if I see or think of anything related to you in the future." The Monkey King instructed the captain of the guard, "Make you cry, don't mention what happened today to any third party except the two of us, and you have to find a way to prevent other monkeys from noticing this little lizard. You must carry it with you wherever you go, and don't lose it. In addition, from now on, you will live in the small room next to me. If anything goes wrong, I will hold you accountable. Do you understand?" "Tell you to cry quickly," agreed. "Yes, my king, I obey your order." The Monkey King turned around and walked out of his bedroom and returned to the banquet hall. He ordered his men to take No Laugh to his bedroom, saying that he wanted to interrogate No Laugh alone about breaking into the Monkey King's cave without permission. Then he announced that the banquet was over and everyone was dismissed. The Monkey King himself took No Laugh back to his bedroom and interrogated No Laugh together with Tell You to Cry, who was still there. So No Laugh had to tell the whole story of how he met Susan and what happened afterwards, and he didn't dare to leave out anything. No mistakes in a poem, a post, a content, a book, a bar, a book. In this way, the Monkey King and the captain of the guards completely understood the whole story, and couldn't help but sigh. Then, the Monkey King asked No Laugh to call Picasso in, and also told him not to make the matter public, otherwise he would be held accountable. No Laughing ran out of the Monkey King cave, but did not find Picasso. Instead, he saw the rude and unreasonable guard monkey, who was covered in mud and scars, sitting dejectedly outside the cave entrance. So he walked up to the unlucky guard monkey and asked, "Hey, door god, where did the Picasso who was playing a joke on you go?" Unexpectedly. When the door god guard monkey looked up and saw that it was No Laughing, he was immediately furious and said, "You naughty monkey boy, you still have the nerve to ask me. Today I will break your monkey legs, then I will consider you as someone who raised me." Before he finished speaking, he stood up shakily, leaning on a wooden stick, enduring the pain on his body, and took a deep breath before raising the wooden stick and hitting No Laughing on the head. Unfortunately, his speed was too slow, and the opponent easily dodged it, and the hit missed, while he himself staggered and almost sprained his waist. It seems that this guy was beaten badly by Picasso and has not recovered yet. Chapter 495, Turbulence Rises Again. No Laugh didn't want to deal with the poor guard monkey anymore, so he turned around and ran into the forest. With a swoosh, he jumped onto a tree and used the air corridor in the forest to swing between trees, looking for Picasso. He went to several places they often went to, but couldn't find him. But just when he was discouraged and was about to return to the Monkey King cave to report to the Monkey King that Picasso was missing, suddenly, in a small pond less than 100 meters away from the tree where he was, there was a series of gulp-gulp sounds from bubbles rolling in the water. He felt very curious, so he ran over and took a closer look. Wow, my goodness, a huge python appeared in the pond. It seemed that the python was desperately entangled with the prey in its arms, but it was not clear what the prey was because it had not yet surfaced. Soon, the prey in the python's arms emerged from the water. Busuzio was surprised to find that it was a furry and wet animal. He opened his eyes and took a closer look. Oh my god, isn't this his good friend Picasso? Because at this time, the head of the prey in the python's arms also revealed most of its face. Busuzio was too familiar with his face. If it wasn't Picasso, who else could it be? However, the originally lively, naughty and cute face has now become a lifeless dead face. It is obvious that he has been dead for a long time. Seeing this scene, Bu Suzao's heart suddenly fell to the bottom. He felt trembling all over, shuddering, and felt a sense of the rabbit eyes and the fox horns. It turned out that after Pikachu fought back against the gatekeeper monkey, he came to the forest. He felt hungry and tired, so he began to look for food in the forest. He successively caught 2 mice and a poisonous snake. Then he felt thirsty and came to this small pond to drink water. Unfortunately, he encountered a giant python hiding in the pond and ambushing for a long time. As a result, when he was drinking water, he was attacked from the back by the giant python and was quickly entangled by the giant python. Soon after, he was dragged into the water and drowned. When he was found by Bu Suzao, he had been dead for a while. This was the sad ending of Pikachu. However, having said that, as wild animals, only a very small number of them can die of old age. Most of them may suddenly encounter accidents halfway, and die halfway, so the lifespan of wild animals is generally not high. Bu Suzao, who had learned the exact news of Pikachu, slowly returned to the Monkey King cave with a heavy heart, and met another gatekeeper monkey outside the cave. The gatekeeper monkey was a guard monkey who was waiting for him here under the order of the Monkey King. When he saw him coming back, he smiled and greeted him. "Hey, buddy, how is it? Did you find your partner?" No Smile nodded to the gatekeeper monkey with a fake smile, but kept silent. Seeing that No Smile was not in a good mood, the gatekeeper monkey asked in confusion, "Since you have found him, why don't you bring him back? The king is waiting to summon you too. He is dead, and now he is probably in the stomach of the python." No Smile had to speak weakly. "Ah, really? This is too unlucky, isn't it?" the gatekeeper monkey said with deep sympathy. "Hey, now he is finished. What a monkey with no luck. Then shall I go into the cave to report to the king now?" No Smile asked immediately. Go, the king is waiting for your accurate information about Pikachu," the gatekeeper monkey replied. After the Monkey King heard No Laughing report to him the news that Pikachu had died at the hands of the giant python, he could not help but sigh and said, "Well, from now on, you will live in the cave with Make You Cry, and take care of and hide this little thing, and don't let any other monkeys approach it." After saying that, he glanced at Susan and then smiled. Unexpectedly, Susan expressed her dissatisfaction and said, "Hey, my king, you are not going to put me under house arrest, are you? This is not fair. I protest. I demand freedom of movement." The Monkey King, however, threatened with a grin. "Little thing, do you still want freedom? Freedom comes at a great price, didn't you just hear? Wasn't it because Pikachu was too free? What happened? Wasn't he eaten by a python? For the sake of safety, you should stay here honestly." "Humph, now I also want freedom, but I know that safety is the most important thing." Ha ha, ha ha ha. Before he finished speaking, he laughed loudly, and then walked out swaggeringly, as if he had picked up a great treasure. Susan was so amused by what the Monkey King said that she had to keep silent. After Susan's reminder, the Monkey King began to conduct a thorough rectification of his tribe, mainly suppressing the young male monkeys who were capable of threatening his position, telling them to be honest and not to talk or move around. Those who were obedient would stay in the tribe, and they might even be trained as his successors. Those who were disobedient would be driven away and left to wander around the world and fend for themselves. After the fruitful rectification in the past few days, the prestige of the Monkey King has been unprecedentedly improved. Now, in this monkey tribe, no matter which monkey, male or female, old or young, sees the Monkey King, they all immediately shout respectfully, "Eula," meaning long live, almost without exception. Seeing this, the Monkey King was extremely excited, but also suspicious, thinking, "I didn't ask everyone to do this? What is going on?" After arriving at his bedroom, he immediately called the captain of the guard Call You to Cry and ordered him, "Go and find out who is inciting all the monkeys in the tribe to pay such a great tribute to me. It makes me feel uncomfortable all over." Call You to Cry wondered, "My king, isn't it good to pay a great tribute to you? This at least shows that you are loved by the whole people." The Monkey King said seriously, "You know nothing. There must be something fishy here. I haven't given any substantial benefits to my subjects. Why do they call me Eula?" After hearing the Monkey King's analysis, Call You to Cry also felt that it made sense, so he said, "Okay, I must investigate this matter thoroughly and give you an explanation." Susan hurriedly said, "Take me with you. I can understand what you say, and I have a small target, so I can approach the other party without anyone noticing. The Monkey King thought for a while, and finally agreed that Su-san should go with the captain of the guard to investigate, but he must pay attention to safety. Su-san jumped up with excitement when she heard this. She could finally go out and take a breath. She had been staying in the Monkey King cave for the past few days, which was boring and she couldn't walk around. On the contrary, the captain of the guard made you cry with mixed feelings. Which monkey or monkeys had played this trick, and what was their purpose? Chapter 496, Discovery of Clues. After the guard captain Call-You-To Cry walked out of the Monkey King's cave, he was troubled. He couldn't just ask everyone he saw, and interrogate all the monkeys in his tribe one by one, right? Wouldn't it be easy to alert the enemy? Then the other party would use a high-sounding excuse to prevaricate him, so that he couldn't find out the real reason and returned empty-handed. How could he come up with a solution that would have the best of both worlds? It would not make a big fuss and make everyone feel uneasy, but it would also be able to find out the other party's true intentions. In this way, it seemed that the only way to go was to investigate openly and secretly. After thinking about it, Call-You-To Cry felt that he still needed an assistant, so he returned to the cave and called Don't Laugh to be his assistant. Being able to have something to do and being able to stay with Su-san, the cute little lizard, Don't Laugh was more than happy, and immediately agreed, followed the guard captain out happily, and began to implement the action of investigating strange events as instructed by the Monkey King. Tell-You-To Cry mainly gave the matter to No Laughing to handle, and asked No Laughing to go openly and secretly investigate, while he was responsible for cooperating with him to carry out the action. So how to cooperate with No Laughing? The captain of the guard thought for a long time, but couldn't figure out a reason. At this time, Su-san came up with a solution. After she came up with a solution, everyone applauded, and the captain of the guard went to report to the Monkey King. At noon that day, the captain of the guard first asked 2 guard monkeys to notify all the monkeys of the tribe, including the old, weak, sick, disabled and pregnant, that anyone who could move should gather in front of the Monkey King's cave gate, because the Monkey King had something important to announce. After almost all the active monkeys in the monkey tribe had gathered, the captain of the guard Made-You Cry said solemnly, "Now, please let the king speak." Then, the Monkey King swaggered out of the monkey cave, looked at the black mass of monkeys in front of him, and said arrogantly, "Today, I announce an important decision. From now on, a group of disobedient, wrong-making, lazy, greedy, and mischievous monkeys will be selected every month to serve for 1 month. They will be responsible for serving the old, weak, sick, disabled, pregnant and other monkeys in the tribe who have lost their basic living ability, providing food, cleaning, collecting herbs for treatment, and even taking care of children. It will be implemented from today." "Okay, I have finished speaking." As soon as the voice fell, an old monkey raised his arms and shouted, "King Eula." Immediately afterwards, the old, weak, sick, disabled and pregnant followed suit and shouted, "King Eula." Then, all the monkeys shouted together, "Eula! Eula!" Seeing this, the Monkey King was overjoyed and waved to his subjects with a smile, then turned and left, went back into the Monkey King cave, and did what he liked. Next, the captain of the guards found and selected a few monkeys that he disliked from the monkey group as the first batch of monkeys to be punished and served labor. He quickly selected 7 or 8 naughty young monkeys who shouted loudly that they were wronged. Finally, everyone was surprised to find that No Laughing was also pushed and needed out of the Monkey King's cave by a guard monkey. The guard monkey pushed No Laughing and cursed loudly, "You damn monkey boy, you are so ungrateful. The king has always been kind-hearted. He did not care about your reckless and stupid behavior of trespassing into the king's treasure land without permission. He also let you do some miscellaneous light work around the king and let you eat and drink well. Who knew that you, monkey boy, still had the same old bad habits? You only know how to be lazy and opportunistic. Today, I finally caught you in the act, and you are fortunate to become the first monkey to serve labor. Get out, go to the group of monkeys that belong to you." In this way, No Laughing was also pushed into the group of monkeys who were selected to serve labor and became one of the 9 prisoners of labor reform. Naturally, these 9 reform through labor prisoners must be managed by a powerful monkey leader, otherwise, this group of monkeys will turn into flying centipedes in a blink of an eye, causing trouble everywhere, and that would be troublesome. And this monkey leader must be trusted by the captain of the guard. However, you don't have to worry about this. Make-You Cry has already made arrangements, because among the 9 captured monkeys, in addition to No Laughing, There is also a monkey that looks a bit fierce. He is a childhood friend and playmate of Make You Cry, named Slant-Eyed Wolf. As the name suggests, this guy has a pair of crooked eyes and is as fierce as a wolf. In front of everyone, the captain of the guard appointed Slant-Eyed Wolf as the captain of this reform through labor team and asked him to report to him in detail every evening about the situation of the day, and who performed well and who performed poorly must report, so as to reward the diligent and punish the lazy without any mistakes. Now, no monkey dared to listen to the Slant-Eyed Wolf, even No Laughing was no exception. Everyone had to work honestly and didn't dare to be lazy. After the meeting, it was afternoon. The Slant-Eyed Wolf took his labor reform team members and plunged into the forest to catch food for the day. Not only for themselves, but also for the old, weak, sick, disabled and pregnant women in the tribe. This was their most important task in the future. This task was quite heavy, that is, each of them had to bear at least 5 monkeys' daily food. This afternoon, the group of punished monkeys led by the Slant-Eyed Wolf worked hard. When the sun was about to set, everyone returned with a full load. On average, each monkey caught enough food for 8 or 9 monkeys to eat in a day, which was equivalent to the workload they had done for 2 days today, and they didn't have to go hunting tomorrow. When the punished monkeys delivered the food to the door, the old, weak, sick, disabled and pregnant women who had received 2 days' worth of food were so excited that they couldn't stop smiling. They kept praising the obedient prisoners. Then, they all raised their arms and shouted in unison, "Great King Eula! Eula! Eula!" The next day, Slant-Eyed Wolf led the prisoners to the homes of the old, weak, sick, disabled and pregnant women, cleaning up, taking care of children and doing good things within their ability. Naturally, they were praised by the old, weak, sick, disabled and pregnant women, who also shouted "Great King Eula! Eula! Eula!" At this time, No Laughing took the opportunity to quietly ask a disabled monkey, who broke his leg when he fell from a tree when he was naughty as a child and fell on a big rock, "Why do you always shout 'Great King Eula'? Who took the lead in telling you to shout?" The lame monkey said. "It was an old male monkey who led us all to shout like this." Don't Laugh asked again, "What's the name of the old male monkey?" The lame monkey replied, "His name is, what's it? Look at my memory. Wow, I finally remembered. His name is Love to Cause Trouble." Yes, that's right, it's him. "Why are you asking this? Does the king want to reward the love to cause trouble?" Don't Laugh laughed he without comment. "Don't let your imagination run wild. I'm just a little curious. It has nothing to do with whether the king rewards him or not." Chapter 497, Unexpected. No Laughing returned in the afternoon. He immediately reported to the captain of the guard. After dark, Make You Cry immediately led the 2 guard monkeys to the residence of the old monkey Love to Make Trouble. The poor old monkey was living under a big rock, and every time it rained heavily, he was in trouble. His snail house became damp and moldy, and his old illness rheumatism would flare up, and he was in so much pain that he couldn't stand up and was in great pain. At this moment, when the captain of the guard suddenly came with the guard monkeys to arrest him, Love Trouble was bewildered and asked in confusion, "Why are you arresting me? Have I broken the law?" The captain of the guard said, "Don't you know that you have done a good thing?" Love Trouble still asked in confusion, "I did a good thing? How come I don't know? What good thing did I do? Is doing good things considered a crime?" The captain of the guard said unreasonably, "Do you think it's okay to do good things? I can arrest whoever I want, regardless of whether they do good or bad things." When Love Trouble heard this, he was immediately furious and shouted, "You are lawless, abusing your power, and breaking the law knowingly. I will appeal to the king and seek justice for me." The captain of the guard said impatiently, "You have done something wrong and you still complain. Humph, I will let you know when the time comes. Take me away." As soon as he finished speaking, he took the guards and took Love Troublemaker back to the Monkey King's cave without saying anything. He took him into a secluded cave and then tied him to a stone pillar with vines. Seeing such a harsh reality, Love Troublemaker suddenly woke up and vaguely felt that he must have done something to anger the Monkey King, but for a moment, he couldn't remember where he had offended the Monkey King. The captain of the guard, Make You Cry, walked up to the old male monkey proudly and said arrogantly, "How about it? Do you remember now? Where did you offend the king? Do you still remember?" The old male monkey loved to trouble may be stupid due to malnutrition, and still asked confusedly, "Where did I offend the king? I really can't remember, can you remind me?" The captain of the guard scolded with a smile, "You are really confused. You forgot what happened a few days ago so quickly. Well, let me remind you, Didn't a tarsier come to you a few days ago and ask you to take the lead in shouting King Eula? The old male monkey lowered his head and thought for a long time before he remembered that there was indeed a young male monkey named Lang who came to him to discuss a few days ago and asked him to take the lead in shouting King Eula, and also asked him to mobilize other tarsier monkeys he knew to shout Eula when they saw the Monkey King in the future. However, the old monkey was very puzzled. Shouting King Eula is not supporting the Monkey King. It is a good thing. Is it illegal to do good things? What happened? Thinking of this, the old monkey loved to make trouble asked in confusion, is it illegal to shout King Eula? What's your reasoning? The captain of the guard explained calmly, of course it is not illegal. But shouting King Eula for no reason is problematic. We suspect that the conspirator behind this has bad intentions and ulterior motives. He may paralyze the king and finally plot to usurp the throne. Do you understand? There is a lot of water here. You, an old fool, have been used unintentionally, and you don't even know it? Tell me, who asked you to do this? At this time, the old monkey finally realized that he was used by the damn cunning monkey cub, so he explained the whole story to the captain of the guard like a bamboo tube pouring beans. In this way, the captain of the guard once again followed the clues and captured the young male monkey Lang, and learned from him the solid evidence that the three young male monkeys who were capable of winning the throne of the Monkey King colluded with each other and conspired to usurp the throne. Then he told the Monkey King these confessions and was greatly praised by the Monkey King. The next morning, the Monkey King convened a meeting of all the tribe's subjects. At the meeting, he read out the conspiracy evidence of the three Monkey King's competitors who had ill intentions. Finally, he announced that the three silly monkeys with no hair on their mouths and no firm work would be expelled from the monkey tribe and leave the country within a time limit. After eliminating this hidden danger, can the Monkey King rest assured? The Monkey King, who thought that the hidden danger had been eliminated, called Susan Lizard again and asked her if she still had a bad premonition. To his surprise, Susan said that she still had that bad premonition, and it was even stronger. After hearing this, the Monkey King was shocked and asked anxiously and puzzledly, is your premonition really that accurate? Susan said calmly, my premonition has never been wrong, and at least 3 of my premonitions have been proven to be accurate afterwards. After she said this, the Monkey King survived 2 days and 2 nights in a state of extreme panic and confusion. At 2 o'clock in the morning of the 3rd day, suddenly, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. The sound was like thunder, dust and smoke rose, and the earth shook violently. A super earthquake of nearly 10 magnitude suddenly broke out. The earthquake lasted for several minutes. The eyed monkey tribe suffered a devastating disaster. The Monkey King's cave collapsed, and the Monkey King and dozens of his family were killed or injured by the rocks in the cave. Including the guard captain and other guard monkeys, almost no one was spared. They were either crushed to death or trapped to death, thirsty, or starved to death in the cave. It was about to happen. Susan was also trapped in the Monkey King cave and couldn't get out. She was very anxious. Now only the male monkey Busuzio was left by her side, but his leg was broken by a rock in the cave and his life was at stake. Although Susan herself was not injured, she might still be trapped to death in the Monkey King cave. At this time, a sci-fi invisible small flying saucer quietly flew over the sky outside the Monkey King cave. Eagle, an alien, a human on the planet, in the flying saucer was talking. I am little bird, I am little bird. The situation is very urgent now. The target is trapped in the cave. The situation is not good. Susan's soul may disappear at any time. Can we activate the number 2 plan? Please instruct, no mistakes in one song, one post, one content, 1.6, 1.9, one book, one forum, one look. Eagle got it. Immediately start plan 2 and have Fly find ways to get into the cave. Find unlock the target at close range, and find a new and best receiving carrier as soon as possible. Little Bird understands. Plan 2 will be implemented immediately. Please rest assured, Eagle, at this moment, outside the entrance of the Monkey King cave, on the branch of a large tree that collapsed due to the earthquake, an invisible fly only the size of a fly was irradiating a beam of powerful and invisible electromagnetic waves at the entrance of the Monkey King cave, trying to find a tiny crack to enter the cave, so as to track and capture the soul of Susan who might be about to fly out. However, this invisible fly did not find even the slightest crack at the entrance of the cave. As a last resort, it flew to the top of the hillside where the Monkey King cave was located to search. After several hours, it still found nothing. Finally, it had to report, Report little bird, the entrance of the cave has completely collapsed, and the fly cannot enter the cave. Request support from headquarters. Chapter 498, Reincarnation of Lemur. Bird immediately reported the news to the headquarters. In less than an hour, the headquarters dispatched a large multifunctional invisible flying saucer from thousands of kilometers away. 2 engineering robots came down from the flying saucer, holding a micro-powered fossil machine. With just a touch of the switch, they would instantly emit a beam of extremely strong material conversion light. Within a few seconds, a hole with a diameter of 1 meter and a depth of 10 meters could be opened. The stones originally in this newly opened hole, even the hard rocks, had already been instantly virtualized into invisible and intangible dark matter. Not even smoke could be seen. It was very powerful. In this way, under the guidance of the invisible fly, the 2 engineering robots found the Susan lizard in just half an hour. Fortunately, she was not in danger of life and did not need to be reincarnated. However, this area would definitely have many aftershocks after the big earthquake. For safety reasons, the headquarters temporarily decided to quickly transfer the Susan lizard to a new temperate zone without earthquakes. Susan never dreamed that although her premonition was accurate, the result was completely beyond her expectations. She even caused the Scientific Research Institute to go through so much trouble to rescue her from the cave and send her to a new place she was completely unfamiliar with. In this temperate zone, Susan lived a comfortable and warm life for nearly 2 years. She found a partner she was satisfied with, formed a harmonious and peaceful small family, laid eggs, hatched and raised the next generation, and spent a happy life in a dull manner. On this day, when it was late autumn and winter, Susan unexpectedly ushered in another rebirth transformation. She went out with her husband, a male lizard, to find food. Unexpectedly, they were discovered by a blue-cheeked white-faced male lemur. Susan and her husband were completely unaware of it. They were still looking around and looking for prey everywhere, not knowing that they had become the prey of the natural enemy, the lemur. Suddenly, the couple was pleasantly surprised to find a big snail hidden under a small rock. But just when Susan and her husband were about to pounce on it for a delicious meal, the old drama of the mantis preys on the oriole behind was staged again. The blue-cheeked white-faced male lemur that they had coveted for a long time suddenly fell from the sky and jumped down from the branch of a big tree next to it. As soon as his feet touched the ground, he pounced on Susan and her husband like a hungry dog pounces on food, grabbed the poor lizard couple one by one, grabbed their vital parts with both hands and squeezed them hard, and easily killed them. Susan and her husband died instantly. Soon after, this stupid male lemur began to have a headache, and in a blink of an eye, he fell to the ground and fainted. When he woke up, he was no longer the original him, but a blue-cheeked white-faced male lemur named Susan. Now, Susan finally realized that she was killed by her own blue-cheeked white-faced male lemur. She couldn't help laughing and crying, shaking her head and smiling bitterly. She had no choice but to start a new animal life. Susan vaguely felt that the original owner of this body was a poor male lemur who had just been driven out of the monkey tribe. He was alone and helpless. Since the soul of the original owner was basically cleared, there were not many memories left. Susan could only understand the general situation but not the details. However, since he knew that he was a lonely monkey, the past things seemed unimportant. What was important now was how to live alone. Fortunately, his life experience was so rich that he could easily pick it up, especially the experience of living independently in the wild was countless. Therefore, he was not worried at all now, but he felt a little uneasy and uncomfortable that he might have to eat poisonous snakes and lizards in the future. For a moment, he didn't know what to do. At this time, Susan felt that he was still a little hungry, even though he had just eaten 2 lizards. He estimated that the male lemur might not have eaten anything for 2 days, otherwise, he would not be so hungry. Now Susan was most worried not about food, but about living, because winter was coming soon. If he lived in the tree like this, it would be difficult for him to survive the coming severe winter with insufficient food and clothing. What should he do? Of course, he could only find or dig a cave to keep out the cold during the winter. Thinking of this, he did not dare to delay any longer and immediately set off to find a cave suitable for wintering. Susan instinctively felt that he was not afraid of poisonous snakes, as if he was very good at catching snakes, which made him feel scared and excited, and even a little impulsive. However, facing the coming of severe winter, in order to solve the problem of food shortage, Sam thought that it was far from enough to hunt small cold-blooded animals such as snakes and lizards. He also had to catch other animals such as mice, wild cats, wild dogs, hares and wild sheep, and even find some purple sweet potatoes, peanuts, potatoes and wild fruits to fill his stomach, so that he could ensure his safety through the winter. Since he had to store a lot of food for the winter, including animals and plants, he needed to find a relatively large and deep hole. Mouse holes, turtle holes and snake holes are generally very small, so they are naturally not suitable for Susan, who has become a lemur. Only the wintering caves of large and medium-sized animals such as bears, wolves, tigers and leopards are more suitable. However, these caves are generally occupied by wild beasts, and eliminating or driving away these terrifying and powerful opponents is a big problem facing him. A few days later, in this primeval forest, Susan found that among the mountains, the caves where snow leopards spend the winter are located at the highest altitude, generally above 3,000 meters above sea level, followed by tigers and bears, which are between 2,000 and 3,000 meters above sea level, and the third is wild wolves, leopards and mountain cats, or lynxes, which are between 1,000 and 2,000 meters above sea level. Finally, Susan felt that the third type of caves, that is, the caves of wild wolves, leopards and mountain cats, were the most suitable for him. The other types of caves were too high in altitude, the air was too thin, and breathing was too difficult, so they were not suitable for him. Since he had locked on the wild animal caves at low altitudes, Susan began to look for caves suitable for him in these places. Not long after, he found that wolf dens were not suitable for him either, because wild wolves live in caves, many of which are adjacent to each other, or even connected to each other, and a group of wild wolves live in the caves, which is obviously not suitable. Not to mention a lemur, even a human being would find it difficult to deal with a group of wolves, unless he had more powerful modern weapons in his hands, machine guns and flamethrowers. After ruling out the wolf den, the only remaining options were the caves inhabited by leopards and mountain cats. Now even a fool would know that mountain cats were much easier to deal with than leopards, but mountain cats were more cunning and scheming than leopards, and mountain cats were even better at climbing trees than lemurs. Susan kept searching the memory in his head, hoping to find the mountain cat's weakness so that he could defeat it and occupy the magpie's nest and occupy the mountain cat's cave to make necessary preparations for his winter. Chapter 499, Mountain Cat Cave. Susan also found this female mountain cat by accident. Here's what happened. He got up early in the morning and swung through the air corridor in the woods in the gloomy and dense forest. He looked around to find the caves where suspicious animals, mainly mountain cats, were hiding. He searched for a long time, climbed over several mountains, and several hours passed, but still found nothing. When he was approaching the top of a mountain, he suddenly found a mountain cat on the rock on the top of the mountain not far away. He opened his eyes and took a closer look. He found that this guy was actually lying on the rock and sleeping soundly. The warm sunshine in late autumn shone on the mountain cat, making it sleep soundly and deeply. Maybe it was still immersed in a wonderful dream. Seeing this scene, Susan secretly thought in his heart, instead of looking around aimlessly, it is better to lock and track this mountain cat. I don't believe that this guy doesn't have his own warm nest, a cave. From now on, I will keep an eye on it and see how long it will sleep. Staring and waiting. Seeing that the sun was about to set, just when Susan's eyes were aching from staring and he was getting impatient, the lazy mountain cat finally woke up, raised his head and yawned loudly, then stretched out his waist, and then called out a long meow in a delicate way, turned his head and glanced around to see if there was any danger, then slowly jumped down from the rock and walked towards the forest. At this time, Susan was hiding in the crown of a densely leafed tree about 180 meters away. The mountain cat could not see him, but he could see every move of the mountain cat clearly. When the mountain cat came down from the rock and turned to walk to the other side of the forest, he quietly slipped down from the tree and followed it on tiptoe. He followed the mountain cat from a distance and crossed 2 or 3 mountains. During this period, he also saw the mountain cat prey on a squirrel and 2 wild mice. Finally, the mountain cat disappeared in a dense and dark area of deep grass and short trees. It was late at night, and it was pitch black all around. As a lemur with almost no night vision, Susan felt that it was useless to stay here any longer, so he decided to find a big tree about 200 meters away to spend the night. After dawn tomorrow, he would carefully look for the cave where the mountain cat lived. The next day, when the sun rose high, Susan woke up from the tree, then got down from the tree and walked towards the place where the mountain cat disappeared last night. After searching for a long time in the weeds and bushes, he finally found a cave entrance that was camouflaged very cleverly. The cave entrance was not very big, only about 1 meter square. It was covered by some branches and leaves of the short trees, making it very hidden. No wonder Susan didn't find it after searching for a long time. Susan removed the branches and leaves at the entrance of the cave and went in. Unexpectedly, the cave was quite deep and not as narrow as the entrance. Instead, the further he went in, the wider it became. At first, he had to crawl, but gradually, he was able to stand up and walk upright like a human being without having to worry about hitting his head on the cave ceiling. After walking more than 30 meters, he came to a cave room of 7 to 8 meters square. The ground was covered with a lot of dry weeds and some dry branches and leaves, but there was no sign of the mountain cat. It was estimated that this guy might have gone outside to sleep in the sun. It would not stay in the cave unless it rained or snowed in summer. From this point of view, it was undoubtedly an active guy. Thinking of this, Susan decided to go out of the cave first and look for some food. Naturally, it must be something that both the mountain cat and Susan like to eat. Fortunately, he is not picky about food. He likes to eat anything that the mountain cat likes to eat. So he went out of the cave to hunt squirrels, wild mice, hares and other small animals. He killed a lot of them, enough for him and the mountain cat to eat for 3 or 4 days. However, he still did not dare to kill too much, because it was not yet the midwinter season and the weather was not too cold. After these prey were killed, they must be eaten as soon as possible, otherwise they would rot and stink and be wasted. After all, he and the mountain cat were not carrion eating animals like crows and vultures. Soon, Susan found a problem. In the depths of this cave, the light was very poor. There was only a faint light reflected from outside the cave, and all obstacles at the entrance of the cave had to be cleared. Once it was after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, the innermost room of the cave was dark and nothing could be seen. This phenomenon was something Susan had not thought of before. If the mountain cat suddenly broke in, the mountain cat could see Susan, but Susan could not see anything except the mountain cat's pair of yellow eyes. What should he do? It seems that it is better to exit the cave first and then find a good strategy. Having made up his mind, Susan hurriedly exited the cave and restored the camouflage of the cave entrance to its original state. Then he left. After thinking for a while, he found a big tree with lush branches and leaves about 500 meters away from the cave entrance and climbed up it. It was his temporary home, where he hid and lived. Although it was impossible to monitor the mountain cat here, it didn't matter, because Susan's main task at this time was not to monitor the mountain cat, but to temporarily avoid the mountain cat and not let it discover him. At the same time, he was thinking about how to use the cave, whether to drive the mountain cat away or kill it, or to make friends with it and live in peace with it and own the cave together. 3 different ideas will inevitably lead to 3 completely different solutions. Susan thought for a long time and finally decided that the best solution was to make friends with a mountain cat and share the cave. The next best solution was to drive the mountain cat away and kill it. According to this idea, Susan decided to try to contact the mountain cat first to see if he could make friends. At about 10 o'clock in the morning, Susan went into the cave again. This time he did not go all the way inside. Instead, he crawled to a brighter place 5 meters away from the cave entrance and sat on the ground. Then he shouted loudly in mountain cat Mandarin, "Hey, Mr. Mountain Cat, are you home? If you are, please come out for a moment. I have something to tell you." Then he repeated it over and over again 2 or 3 times. Suddenly, a furry animal came out from the darkness of the cave and meowed. When he looked closely, it was indeed the mountain cat who liked to sleep in the sun. It asked in a soft voice, "Where did you come from, wild monkey? You are so brave that you actually came to my place to act wild. Are you tired of living?" Susan smiled and shook hands with the mountain cat, bowed and said, "Dear mountain cat beauty, although I am a wild monkey, I have admired you for a long time and have always wanted to make friends with you, but I don't know if you can accept me. I gave you a gift yesterday. I don't know if you saw it. I think you should understand my sincerity." The mountain cat didn't expect that Susan, a lemur, could talk so well and didn't look so annoying, so he softened his tone and asked further, "Then what bad intentions do you have in doing this?" Chapter 500, Unreasonable. Susan smiled and said, "Look at what you said. How could I have any bad intentions? In fact, I just want to chat with you when I have nothing to do, the female mountain cat asked in disbelief. It's that simple. I really don't have any bad intentions, Susan swore solemnly. I swear to God, I have no bad intentions. I just want to be a good friend, a good neighbor and a good partner with you. Think about it carefully. Don't we have many similarities? We can climb trees and swim, eat the same and similar food, drift around the world alone, and need a good partner. The only difference is that I like to sleep at night and you like to sleep during the day. This is best. You can sleep in the cave during the day, and I will come to your cave to sleep at night. Unexpectedly, the female mountain cat refused and said, that won't work either. I will never allow outsiders to dirty my cave, Susan immediately promised. I promise not to dirty your precious nest. You live in the innermost part of the cave, and I live in the outermost part of the cave. I know you are a night owl who likes to sleep in the daytime and not sleep at night. When you sleep, I don't stay in the cave. I will not disturb your sleep if I go out for a walk. What do you think? The female mountain cat still stubbornly refused. Nothing. I just don't allow other creatures to live in my cave. I can't stand the smell of outsiders. Susan saw that the female mountain cat was unreasonable, so he had to choose to leave temporarily. Okay. Good luck. As soon as he finished speaking, he got up and left. Since Susan had been exposed to the mountain cat and let her know his existence, there was no need to hide and be timid. He climbed up a big tree closest to the entrance of the mountain cat's cave, set up camp, and monitored a mountain cat nearby. That morning, Susan happened to kill a fat hare. He thought it would be very fragrant and taste even better if roasted. So he went to find 2 small rocks nearby to use as flints. He picked up some dead grass, dead leaves and dry branches 2 or 3 meters outside the entrance of the female mountain cat's cave. Then he peeled the hare's skin, tore the hare meat into several large pieces, and then started a fire with the flint. He strung the hare meat piece by piece with branches and roasted it on the campfire. At this time, a gust of wind blew in from outside, blowing the aroma of roasted rabbit meat into the mountain cat cave. The tempting aroma drifted into the cave, and the sleeping female mountain cat was first awakened by the smoke of the dry firewood that Susan had lit, and then smelled the aroma of roasted rabbit meat, which made her salivate. At this moment, her stomach was growling, and she couldn't help it, so she got up and walked quickly to the cave entrance. When she walked to the cave entrance, she was furious. It turned out that the annoying lemur was making trouble and mischievous here again. So, the furious female bobcat rushed to Susan, the annoying male lemur, and demanded angrily, "What do you want to do, you naughty lemur? Why did you grill game at the entrance of my cave and disturb my sleep?" Susan pretended to look at her innocently and said, "Did I really disturb your sleep? Why didn't I think of it? I'm sorry, I apologize to you." The female bobcat still scolded relentlessly. "I think you did it knowingly and deliberately to make me angry," Susan asked in confusion. "Am I that bad?" The female bobcat argued arrogantly and unreasonably. "You are bad, you are bad, you are the worst lemur in the world," Susan said helplessly. "Since you insist on your wrong point of view, I am too lazy to argue with you." After that, he started to gnaw on a large piece of wild rabbit meat that he had grilled to golden yellow and oozing with oil. He ate it with relish, which made the female mountain cat standing next to him and watching him eat drool, but she was too embarrassed to ask Susan for more. When Susan was about to finish the piece of rabbit meat and was about to pick up another piece of rabbit meat that was about to be roasted, she accidentally glanced at the female mountain cat standing next to her and found that her eyes were staring at the piece of rabbit meat in Susan's hand. He couldn't help but have an idea and handed the piece of freshly roasted rabbit meat to the female mountain cat and said, "If you want to eat it, just eat it boldly. Although I am the worst lemur in the world, I am the most compassionate lemur. I can't bear to see my neighbors go hungry." What do you think? The female mountain cat was really unable to bear the temptation of the fragrant roasted rabbit meat. She asked in surprise and joy, "Can I really eat the meat you roast? You won't take the opportunity to propose conditions that I can't accept, right?" Susan blinked and said cunningly, "Isn't it just a piece of roasted rabbit meat? What conditions can I propose? Am I such an unreasonable bad lemur?" The female mountain cat was about to refute Susan, saying that he was a bad lemur, but when she saw the fragrant, golden, and greasy roasted rabbit meat about to reach her mouth, she quickly closed her unpleasant stinky mouth and put on a smile that was uglier than crying. She took the roasted rabbit meat from Susan's hand with a smile and then gobbled it up without courtesy. In less than a cup of tea, She ate the palm-sized roasted rabbit meat clean. Suzanne saw the female mountain cat's greedy and hungry look, and guessed that she might be greedy and hungry, so she roasted the remaining pieces of wild rabbit meat and gave them to her. As the saying goes, if there is a first time, there will be a second time. From then on, Suzanne held a barbecue event in front of the female mountain cat's cave almost every day, and every time the female mountain cat slept in the cave, she would automatically run out to eat and drink, almost without exception. A few days later, Suzanne was grilling a small wild boar meat at the entrance of the cave. This time the barbecue tasted stronger and more fragrant. Naturally, the female mountain cat would not be absent and arrived on time. Suzanne saw that all those who should come have come, so he asked, "Beauty, you see, we have known each other for such a long time, but I still don't know your name. Today, can you tell me?" Unexpectedly, the female mountain cat asked back, "Why should I tell you my name? Do we know each other well?" Suzanne said angrily, "Beauty, you've eaten several of my delicious barbecues for nothing, and now you're saying you don't know me well. Is there anyone more unreasonable than you?" Unexpectedly, the female mountain cat defended herself by saying, "Didn't I steal your barbecue? Didn't you always treat me or let me eat? What's more, you were grilling in front of my house and disturbing my sleep, but I haven't blamed you yet." Suzanne was so angry at her unreasonable rebuttal that she had to say angrily, "Well, this is the last time I'll have barbecue in front of your house. If you want to eat as much as you can. There won't be any next time." As soon as she finished speaking, she picked up a roasted, golden and greasy wild boar leg and started eating it by herself, regardless of her reaction. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.